is it Justinian?
Oh, I
Are
just
you
said
aware?
furious conviction.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Lion, are you aware under the conditions under which is it Justinian, Emperor Justinian built the Hagia Sophia? Is it Hagia Sophia?
Hagia Sophia, yeah.
Hagia Sophia.
Well, listen, it used to be called Istanbul, and then under Constantine, he renamed it Constantinople. I'm pretty sure. And I'm not fond of Constantine or the Roman emperors before him, or after him for that matter. I feel like Constantine only converted to Christianity for political reasons, to gain favor of the people.
Okay. Well, I mean, you seem to be like sort of giving praise to Justinian and this fabulous building, Hagia Sophia. In order to do that, right? He sort of imperial tax system was implied. He had this guy named John the Cappadocian. He was extracting taxes from landowners, merchants, and provinces. Basically, this taxation system that they imported ended in what's called the Nika riots about 40 years later, in which they burnt the building down because of all the tax. They were basically, what was this other part? They were taking like
How do you burn a
wealthy
building down
noblemen.
that's made out of stone?
It was made out of wood the first two times.
Oh, okay.
Actually, no, the first time was wood. The second time was masonry, and then that fell down because it wasn't. It was built too fast. It says here, and then the third and final one, which is still standing, he made it a little bit higher in order to sort of deal with the tolerances and what is it? Yeah, just sturdiness. But it
Now I
looks
didn't know
like, I
that.
mean, this guy was absolutely ruthless. They killed 30,000 people during the Nika riots.
Yeah, listen, that you're
And was
talking
this
about Rome, dude.
property
Rome,
seizure?
it took a long time for Rome to become Christianized. Man, I dropped out.
Yeah,
Everybody dropped out.
yeah.
This
So
is happening
Justinian
so
executed
much.
wealthy. Yeah, it is happening a lot, eh? Justinian executed wealthy senators,
Why does this sound like
confiscated their entire
Niger?
estates.
Yeah, dude, you're talking about Rome, bro. Like, Rome does not represent Christianity. That's the Roman Empire, dude. But Rome ended up adopting Christianity, and it became the Christian Roman Empire around the sixth century, actually, around the year 530 or whatever, around that time frame. That's when you had Germanic blood. You had literal Germanic bloodlines, right? Germanic bloodlines take over Rome, infiltrate the hierarchy in Rome, and so it went from Latin to Germanic bloodlines, and then that's when it became the Byzantine Empire. Look that up. You're so fond of Germany, right? Look up the Germanic bloodlines that took over Rome.
No, I always found their humor to be
That's
rather
not-
quirky.
That's not the reason for the relocation, though, of the empire. It was due to, it's a bit obscure, but there was floods and there was a lot of problems in Europe, and a lot of the population was missing, I believe.
For sure, there was definitely natural cataclysms, volcanic eruptions, and all that. But I want Risky to look this up though, because Rome was replaced by a whole different bloodline, dude, of people. Right? You had the Visigoths, you had the Vandals, where you get the word vandalism from, because they would terrorize Rome whenever they felt like it. Whenever they felt like having a good time, dude, the Vandals, the Visigoths would come down from the mountains up north, dude, and they would go into Rome and terrorize the population, dude, literal terrorists, dude, and vandalize the city of Rome, dude. And then they would just retreat and go back to where they came from, dude. And Rome could do nothing about it. Rome was defenseless against the Germanic bloodlines, including the British.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, this says here that the Hagia Sophia was built by the Greek Orthodox Christians formerly.
Eventually, they ended up taking over.
Well, it was Roman Catholic interlude from 1200. Oh, what's this? 1200. That's
No, go back to the fifth, sixth century, way
yeah.
before that.
Well, that's when Rome took it over. Roman Catholic interlude between 1200 and 1260, so only 60 years. And then the Islamic conversion.
No, but go back, please, dude. Please go back to the fifth, sixth century.
Yeah, what am I looking for?
Look up, when did the Germanic bloodlines take over the Roman Empire?
Yeah. So what? I'm guessing that they needed to sort of negotiate with these so-called terrorists in order to, so they sort of let them into the bloodlines. They usually marry them in order to prevent the
That's
bloodshed and
actually,
violence.
it's interesting that you say that, because what happened was, that's what happened. Little by little, Germanic bloodlines started mingling with the native Latin population. And little by little, they started infiltrating the hierarchy. And next thing you know, boom, dude, it's it's no longer Latin, dude. It's German or Germanic. Excuse me, Germanic, because there's a difference. But you have, like, there's a bunch of Germanic languages like Dutch, English, Swedish.
Do you know, Lion, from any other perspective in history, from a complete unbiased perspective, they would be considered usurpers?
Who would?
That's something you should consider, because the history does tell us that the cataclysms and the problems that happened in Europe, there is questions around the rewriting of history around that time. And we don't know that the people who took on the name of the Romans were actually the original Romans. And there's lots of people who are claiming that
That's what I'm
the
trying to
original
tell you.
Romans were usurped.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. They weren't. Yeah. So you had Germanic lines that took over Rome, dude, and they were no longer Latin.
I mean, you have switched from, the Hagia Sophia, which is what, in Turkey, over to Rome.
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you. The Hagia Sophia, right, was Rome had possession of it.
Only for a
Right.
short time. It said
When we
60
talk
years
about
before. No?
Constantine, right? Constantine was a Roman emperor, and he renamed Istanbul after himself, Constantinople. That's where the Hagia Sophia is located. That's why I'm bringing this all up. We talk about Emperor Justinian. That's a Roman.
Well, it says here, what is it? It's worth noting that while the West was falling to these Germanic tribes, so I can see a whole bunch of invasions going on here throughout. It was mostly like 378, 400, 400, 455. So yeah,
Correct.
300s to the
Correct.
late
Yeah,
400s.
that's the
Yeah,
Yeah, those are the
but
Visigoths and the Vandals. They were vandalizing Rome, dude.
yeah, they never made it into the Byzantine area though.
No. They became no. They became the Byzantines, dude. That's what I'm trying to get you to see.
What, the Romans became the Byzantines?
No, after the Visigoths, after the Germanic bloodlines, they kept vandalizing Rome and mingling with the Romans. They became part of the hierarchy. For example, the first bishop of Rome, his name was Aristobulus the fourth, I think it is, Aristobulus the fourth. Aristobulus was a Brit. Excuse me. No. Excuse me. I'm driving, dude. I got that wrong. No. The first bishop of Britain, right, was Aristobulus. The first bishop of Rome was Linus. His name was Linus, and he was a Brit. And what's interesting is that you had a woman called Claudia, right? Claudia who's referenced in the New Testament, ended up, and she was also a Brit, ended up marrying a Roman senator and marrying into Roman bloodlines. So you had British bloodlines, Germanic bloodlines marrying into Roman bloodlines in the first century, establishing themselves amongst the aristocratic families, right? Mingling with the aristocratic families. By the time you get to the 6th century, dude, it was Germanic bloodlines throughout.
Prolific breeders, hey?
You got Priscilla, Claudia. Dude, I'm going from the dome, dude, but I got a bunch of resources on this. But just look up when the Germanic, just ask ChatGPT or whatever you're using, ask it when did the Germanic bloodlines take over Rome? Or something like that. Just prompt with something like that.
Okay. And I don't trust. I've switched over to Gemini, and I asked it a little bit earlier about Charlie Kirk's death, and it said Charlie Kirk was still alive. So I'm taking a lot of this on a grain of salt or whatever.
What did you say when you did you correct it?
Yeah, I did, and then it goes, "Yeah, I'm sorry." Is it the takeover was gradual process rather than a single event, accumulating in 476 AD, when the Germanic chieftain Odoacer, Odoacer, I don't know how to pronounce that, deposed the last Western Roman Empire or emperor.
Yep. And then it became the Byzantine Empire. Now, they didn't call themselves the Byzantines. That's in retrospect. That's what we call them.
It says here the formal end was in 476. The Western Empire had become a puppet state where Germanic generals held the real power.
Yep. That's right. The British, that's the British in control of Rome. Now, Britannica there were Germanic bloodlines throughout Britannica and Scotland and Ireland. Indo-European bloodlines, right? Germanic bloodlines. But Britain had control of Rome early on through marriage.
No, I can see here Emperor Justinian I, the guy who built the Hagia Sophia, was able to launch a massive counter offense in 530.
Yeah, he tried, but he
Yeah, it didn't
failed.
look like he won. It's because he spent all this money on a dumb building. He killed 30,000 people in his own populace because of the taxation, and he wasn't able to rally the troops. Like, the guy sounds like a really dunce leader.
Now, even though they were Germanic bloodlines, I don't want you guys to be misunderstanding that they still would have been speaking Greek. Greek was the lingua franca. It was the universal language at that time. It was the language that the aristocrats would have been speaking and reading and writing, even if they descended from Germanic bloodlines, Indo-European bloodlines. Just like right now, even though you might not be of English descent in America, you might be Mexican, you might be whatever nationality, you still speak English and write and read in English. Even if you don't, you're not an English man.
Find that argument a little bit tricky because in order to call yourself a native identity, I think speaking the language as your first language is what we expect. I think that's a stretch to start claiming that people who we have no evidence they spoke that language were natively that. That doesn't logically match what we see in the world and how we categorize people today, always.
Dude, it's a dynamic thing, bro. It's not like a binary thing, dude. Just because they spoke Greek or wrote Greek and read Greek doesn't mean that they were from Greek descent. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, descent. Yes, I agree. You can have, heritage, but at the end of the day, as an English-speaking person living in England, and English is your first language, I think you would be considered English.
And I mean, you had a big distinction between the East and the West. Even after the Byzantine Empire, even though they were Germanic bloodlines, they ended up completely separating and isolating. They had it's like an isolate. They were different than the native Britons, the people that the Germanic bloodlines that infiltrated Rome were different than Ireland, Scotland, and Britain theologically.
Then there would be clear dialects, clear slang differences. There would be still a mixture of the old language into that dialect. Because people don't just, get conquered and then just start speaking pure English, right? It's a gradual thing that happens, and they degrade the old language, and the old language becomes a rarer language, but you'll still see the
JP Morgan said it once, millionaires don't look at the stars, billionaires do. Ask yourself why.
Yeah, I've heard that, but who's got the right answers on that? Go ahead, speak up now.
Yeah, but if you look at the ancients, they kept time
Now,
by
who's more right than me
turnings of
on
the
it?
star. A shot is
Somebody
one
turn my head.
day, not a year.
Talk to me about this quote. Explain to me why.
Why? Because the celestials
Yeah,
in the
don't
sky
just let it
take
be
in a
some shit that
certain
we say. You know what I
position
mean? Like,
and everything drifts through time. So when those certain things align with the structures on the earth, like the pyramids, all the temples, the lights move through those things. It's a clock and it's ticking.
did anyone else in the class have an answer?
No idea.
Well, if you know that the system, the magnetic fields drifts for 1 degree a year, calculate how
This is what
long it
billionaires are
takes
doing? I don't think so.
rotation.
Yeah, billionaires are not, because of them. Let's get to the billionaires. It's a significant difference between $1 million and $1 billion. You give it that, right?
And the millionaires are just like us. They don't have a say.
Yeah, Rick, me, Roots, we're Lion. You know, we're all millionaires. So you know, it's not a big deal. I'm just saying the difference between being that and then I don't know how many times more a billion is, but it's more than 100. So right, that's like 100 times more than 100 times better. Like what is the advantage that these
The
people in the
difference
know
is
are
being
able to use
able
about
to build
the
below
site?
the ground.
Oh, you. This is why you're in the $1 million category, right? Because you fucking cut a motherfucker off before he's done. Go ahead. Tell me. Tell the class.
With 1 million, you're not digging in the ground and building a whole structure to survive when the shit hits the bang on the surface.
I wish Andrew was here. Andrew
Oh,
would
yeah, you're
know
right.
from an electrician's point of perspective. Lion, you got something? Hit me, baby.
My hot
Don't
micing?
gobble, but I get the intention. Yeah, you're hot micing. Tell us why billionaires use astrology but not millionaires. Oh, he's tapping out. Rick, you're up. Yes or no? Answer the question.
Sure, yeah.
You're obfuscating.
Yes.
While you're there, can you tell us why there is a astronomical Greek book called the Pentateuch?
Why is there?
That's not fair. That's later Harry Potter shit. We don't get into that right now. Answer the question up front. Come on. Millionaires, billionaires. Where's the edge competitively?
It's 1,000 millions. That's all I know.
I failed you all. I failed you.
Access to knowledge.
What am I looking at the Pentateuch for?
Well, there's a famous Hellenistic poem by a guy called Dorotheus of Sidon who wrote a astronomical spiritual book relating the stars to the human life, and it was called the Pentateuch. Now, the Pentateuch, if you know, is the original name for the Torah. So it's like having a book on astronomy called the Bible.
Well, yeah, I can see it's made up of Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Who was that? What was the name of the author?
Dorotheus of Sidon. And he wrote a Hellenistic
York
poem called the
bestseller.
Pentateuch, and it was a bestseller of its time, and it was named the same name as the Torah. It's basically called the Torah. My question is, why would such a famous book? It's like it's like me releasing a play and calling it Romeo and Juliet, but it has nothing to do with the original Romeo and Juliet. Just doesn't sit right with me.
We know who owns Hollywood, don't we?
And when you look into the Pentateuch by Dorotheus of Sidon, the book is broken into five. The work is broken into 5 books, and one book is on like life and marriage and kids. Another book is on motivation and purpose. Another book is on morals and ideology, which you could argue is quite similar to the Bible or the Pentateuch.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, the first book is nativities, so birth charts and backgrounds. The second one is marriage, children, and social relationships. The third is determining the length of life. The fourth is predictions and time lords. Hello. And then the fourth is interrogations and elections.
So we know that the Greeks saw the stars as above, so below, and that they had a direct impact on our life. So they had a spiritual message within the book about how to live your life, and it just happened to be called the Torah.
So I'm trying to get my head around this. So there's the Torah, or the Pentateuch, otherwise known as, right? And then this guy comes along and he writes another book afterwards, or
Well,
first
well,
century,
well.
written by David in
Sequels,
the first
imagine.
century CE.
Part
Oh,
2.
yeah.
Well, if you apply a little bit of phantom time theory into this, how do we know that this Pentateuch
Hello.
came after the other Pentateuch? How do we know that we don't know that this Pentateuch was the inspiration for the original Torah, and that we've been lied to about the age of the Torah?
Man is humble. He kneels before the what are you saying? Yeah, like it could be an Indiana Jones situation here. Yeah.
Have you read the book yourself, Roots?
No, I haven't. I haven't read it. I've done a lot of sort
Did
of
you?
meta research around it, though.
I mean, with the 5 books, okay, so you got Exodus, which lines up with the marriage, children, and I don't know the biblical scripture well enough, but each one of these sort of Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy all have sort of like different themes as primary themes within the sort of text, right? And then would it be a direct kind of parallel with the 5 books, like nativities, marriage, determining length of life, etc., etc.? Yeah, I'll see if the AI can do us anything.
Yeah, I've been meaning to read it, but it's I've had a little look. It's not an easy read, I must say. But it definitely relates to
Man, now would be a
moral.
good time to be like a AI scriptural researcher. Man, you got some tools, kid.
But funny enough, he was around and produced this book around the same time as the Bible, as the the Septuagint. And there are claims that at the time of the Septuagint, we don't have evidence of a Torah before the Septuagint direct, unless you want to count the Dead Sea Scrolls, but that debate's kind of gone around in circles. But there is a way to look at this, and if you don't believe the Dead Sea Scrolls story, then we don't have any evidence that there was a Torah before this piece of work by Dorotheus of Sidon called the Pentateuch.
So maybe no Torah before.
Say Dora.
Very So is that how far this rabbit hole goes, or do we go deeper into Wonderland? Is it Neverland? No, it's Wonderland.
I'm seeing if anything jumps out at me while I'm reading this, I'll let you guys know.
Well, the rabbit hole goes deeper the more you research into like previous religious beliefs. So you have like the Egyptians, for example, they have the 10 Commandments under the laws of Ma'at. We have the stories of Gilgamesh. We have basically parallels to most of the stories in ancient in ancient scripture, but they're always from a more cosmological point of view. So my whole point here is that we took the story of the stars and we made it. We took a metaphysical story of the stars and the relation to our life, and we made it a physical story with a guy, and disciples rather than a sun and constellations.
This is a way we kind of say decimals too, isn't it? Or we all call them like deacons, decans, right? Post holes, a post hole. What do you think about all that, Morpheus?
Not sure what you're saying.
Okay, all right.
It does say here
I'm
that this is where they diverge sharply from one another, these two books. It says here, the Torah is based on deductive moral logic. If you follow these laws, premise A, then God will bless you, bless the land. Conclusion B, it assumes human free will and relationships with a creator. The Dorotheus, that's pronunciation, is based on inductive natural logic. And that is whenever we observe Jupiter in this position, observation A, we consistently see wealth follow, conclusion B. It is a deterministic mechanical view of reality, almost like a cosmic CNC program that runs regardless of your prayers. Okay.
That kind of
So
covers
it's
what I said.
almost,
We took a metaphysical idea and we made it physical with a actual, like, do A, you get B, rather than when A is happening, it's more likely B will happen.
yeah. That's interesting. Cool. Thanks for what's this? Yeah, I'll look into this book. That's cool.
I think the biggest thing for me is if there is a famous, book so well known, like a play, like Hamlet or Romeo and Juliet, you just don't see somebody produce a work with the same name unless it's related.
Well, yeah, I have heard of it being called the Pentateuch before, but it would be the fact that they call it the Torah. That would cause a bit of conflation, or not conflation, sorry, the opposite of conflation, or disassociation.
I also found that in the Babylonian creation myth, one of the lesser gods was called Allah. That Allah is not an original name for God, like the Muslims would claim. Allah comes from Babylon.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
How do you fit all this shit in
Dim
your head, bro?
Babylon system.
Haven't you got a real job?
Yeah, I'm slacking on it right now.
Yeah, cool. I'm gonna look into this one.
Yeah, nice. That's good. Good combo, guys. Just wrap that all up. Figured out pretty much everything.
Hey, Snacks, I'm just asking questions. I'm no Morpheus, mate.
It's just the glasses, maybe. I don't know. At the avatar. I'm just playing around.
That's all right. It's better than Andrew Tate.
Mm.
I said it's better than being called Andrew Tate lookalike or wannabe.
Like Professor Parks over here with his neck doilies. Just joking. Hey, how you doing, Professor Parks? Good morning.
Oh, morning. Andrew Tate, that's a new one. I've been told I look like a lot of people. Not that dude.
No, we just meant your avatar, but I don't even think that that's remotely accurate. So it was just
Oh yeah, that's
my version of
avatar.
humor, which is getting it wrong.
No worries. That's Mr. Kepler. Is my profile picture.
Good old Johannes. Yo. So
How are y'all this morning?
yeah, actually he was It's funny that like I read more about Kepler in my musical searches, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
And finding some interesting like there's whole books basically that cite his
Oh yeah, he was
I guess
huge
a
into the
pursuit of a
harmony
like
of the spheres.
cosmic tones and stuff like that. Well,
Mm-hmm.
based on the ratios that he was looking at, like distances from one star to another, he I guess inferred that there could be something like an octave or musical parallel because of the harmony of this distance somehow.
Yeah, what he was kind of picking up on is that there's something called good lord, Moore's law, something like that, where there's a certain pseudo resonance between the planetary orbits. So, for example, if you count Earth as 1, Mars is at 1.5, and then Jupiter's at 5, and then so on. So yeah, there does seem to be some kind of like integer differences that you could turn into tones or something musical.
Yeah, but he was really like, I guess, running off of an idea implicitly that everything must be governed in this way. But I think that that's probably because of anchoring to some Platonic concepts in the music of the spheres. I think he um, probably believed in their concept of it or something. But I think also that even if we looked at some really hip dudes now, they're thinking like, oh yeah, the whole universe is some kind of implicitly like nested harmonic manifold of some crazy. I mean, like there's probably a newfangled way to kind of describe the whole music of the spheres concept with its own quantum entailments or what have you. Probably you know about that stuff, maybe.
Well, the quantum mechanics isn't exactly my bag, but I would certainly not be surprised if someone has sort of taken Kepler's ideas and modernized them.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is it just like do you have a particular attachment to any of the works that that you use his avatar or?
Oh, I mean, he was the person who came up with the laws of planetary motion. I think when I chose that, there were certain naysayers about whether or not Kepler actually had cheated, that Kepler was a fraud. And so I was doing that as sort of a tongue-in-cheek way of sort of uh, provoking people. So that's my kind of idea of humor. Not very good either. So
All right, I got you. Is Elon Musk doing that with Tesla?
I don't know. I don't know if he's a true believer or what. Because I know people like to sort of fanboy over Tesla and free energy and all that kind of good stuff. I don't know if Elon has that kind of opinion of Tesla.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised
I kind
if
of
he
now
did.
interpret it. I used to think that it was that type of flex, but actually, I feel like it's like Tesla, the man with probably so many important patents that have had influence over the 20th century, is merely a link in my chain, dog. Like I'm flexing so many other companies that are breaking ground. like he looks at himself like he's big dog in it. What do you think?
Yeah, I could see that too.
You don't have to use my lingo either way. I'm sorry. I'm just all silly.
No worries. Sorry, I'm actually about to step out. I just kind of wanted to pop in and see what was going on, but I've got to run to go teach. So yeah, but I'll be back later.
All right.
Peace out.
So that's how a pro handles it. Okay, take notes, guys.
Why is that how you run somebody out?
That's him.
Snacks.
He's the pro. He's the professor. I'm just a procrastinator.
Snacks, what's your profession, dude? What's your area of work?
Grocery boy. Grocery boy, I think. Yeah. Muscle-bound grocery boy. I think that's where I'm at right now. But I did go to college, so, you know what I mean? You can't discount, like, the influence of the people that I know to get me in this position. But, I don't know. It's pretty cool. I don't want to brag. Humble brag, I guess, sort of, kind of.
Is a topic, dude.
I just asked Snacks what his profession was.
No, I'm just
Probably. Bring one to the table then, dude.
Snacks' profession is the oldest profession in the world.
What's that? Oh,
I would like. I mean, being a gigolo, it's not something I've
I was
done.
gonna
But
say
it's
that.
like,
I was gonna say that too.
it's like, no, I mean, just because, you know, I grew up in the '80s. There's big movies about this kind of thing, and I was like, oh man, maybe that's like what I'm supposed to be. Like I was born for this. I don't know.
No,
It seems like it, but I don't know. I just don't have the concentration to really follow through and execute.
Nah, he's a pimp.
Oh, pimping? Yeah, pimping. That would be good. But then you got to worry about insurance, 401k, you know, fleet insurance.
PIMP. You're gonna start marketing AI models, right? Alicia,
We do a Nevada Corp, then we can have
Melissa.
we can license it out all under one roof, you know what I mean? But I can marry them all, and then taxes get, you know, see what I'm saying here? Just rotate it. Rotate it.
Don't know if you know this, Snacks, but pimps don't pay taxes. It's a tax-free affair.
I don't know much about the pimp game, but you know, if anybody does, hit me up. Let me know what's going on.
I just asked the AI using the Pentateuch book. I just downloaded the Pentateuch book, pumped it into the AI, gave it my birth date and everything, and it's just telling me what it basically telling me everything I need to know. Let's go.
Let us know what stands out, Rick. You know my angle. So, yeah, appreciate the work.
That's right. I don't know what much of this all means. It's large.
Penti just means 70 in Greek, dude. After the 70 scribes that compiled it.
No, it doesn't. Pentateuch means 5 books.
Penta, yeah. Pent.
Actually,
Yeah.
right. But no, but you also, not
books.
necessarily, because you also have, I mean, you are right, dude. It has to do with the Torah, the 5 books of Moses.
No, the word itself.
But you also, I know, but you also have Pentecost. Right?
Yeah, but we're talking about another book called a Pentateuch that is not related to the Bible or Christianity.
Yeah, that's why there's like another book
I know
named
what
the
you mean.
Pentateuch, because it's like just 5 books. It's essentially what that word means. It's not specific towards any 5 books. It's just saying 5 books.
Pentabook.
It's like basically saying the 5 books, like the most important 5 books, basically.
The Greek Pentateuch was compiled by 70 scribes, though.
It's LLX, so it would be 70 I thought it was 72 though. Hold on. Isn't it 72? In reality, it's 72, but they call it the LLX 70, but it was actually 72. Is that right?
Well, it's between 70 and 72. I don't know what the actual number is, but
That's how the story goes.
yeah, that's the Torah in Greek, dude. Like, it's not. I don't know why you frame it like, oh, it's the Pentateuch existed before the Torah. It is the Torah in Greek.
Now, my argument is that this Pentateuch that I'm speaking about was created about the same time period that we're supposed to have got the first published Torah. So, in actuality, this Greek Pentateuch was before the first published Torah in Greece standalone book. And I think it was actually published before the Septuagint, because I know Dorotheus of Sidon was around in 1 CE, but I don't know when it was exactly published, but it was pretty much the same time period.
No, it's not, dude. That's not even close. The Greek Pentateuch, which the scribes compiled for Ptolemy, right? Because Ptolemy wanted to be able to read the already existing Torah in his language. He had the Jewish scribes, Levites, that were living in Egypt, in Alexandria, Egypt at that time, do him a favor, do him a solid. And they came together and rewrote the already existing Torah, right? That was already existing in Hebrew. He rewrote it. They rewrote it in Greek. Just like when King James first compiled the first authorized King James Bible, and he got like 20 men to come together of polyglot, the world's greatest polyglots, whatever they're called. They know multiple languages.
Yeah, I know.
That's
I know
what
that's how
Ptolemy did.
this. I know the story very intimately. I know that's how we supposedly got the first Bible. I'm very aware, but my argument is because we don't have, unless you want to count the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is a debate on it, a side debate. Without the Dead Sea Scrolls, we don't have any of that source material, so we have no way to confirm there was a Greek Torah.
We don't. What do you mean? Like we don't need any
sorry,
source
a
material.
Hebrew Torah.
We don't need any source material because, reasonably speaking, right? When we're talking about parchment and paper, this stuff's very delicate. It's not going to survive 3,000 years, dude. Right? But what we do have is historicity regarding the origin of the Septuagint and how that came about. And the way that came about is because they rewrote the already existing Torah, bro. For whatever reason, you have a problem with that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there's no evidence of a pre-existing Torah before the Septuagint. Not in direct evidence.
The irony is that the Septuagint is evidence of already a pre-existing Torah, because the Septuagint is a transcription of the Torah, the Hebrew Torah. Moses pre-existed.
That's a story.
It's not, dude. Yeah, you're okay.
Provable.
You're inconsistent. Your epistemology is inconsistent.
How?
Because yours is just a story also. So what makes your story greater than my story?
Well, because there's actual
His ability to tell it.
I'm not actually giving you another story. I'm basically asking questions of where was this Hebrew Torah, and how do we know that there was a Hebrew Pentateuch or Torah before the Septuagint? Because we definitely don't have any published book, and we definitely don't have the original writings. All we have is a story. And my issue is Ptolemy.
That's false.
Oh, I mean, wouldn't you have to have
my
that?
issue is that, well, Ptolemy also created the first geocentric model, so he was part
That's
of
non sequitur.
It's pretty significant in relation to the idea
mean,
that
that
we are
seems obviously.
we're recreating fundamental beliefs of mankind here, and Ptolemy had a hand in the Septuagint and the globe, and we know that there's lies around the globe. So why wouldn't there be lies around the Torah or the Septuagint?
All right. So
I mean,
again,
it's literally.
go ahead. Snacks.
It's literally supposed to be like, isn't it 70 dudes that like all know the same book, and then they're like, oh yeah, we corroborated that shit, so like we know it's for real. Like, isn't that the deal? Or am I talking about something else?
So that's
the
exactly
story.
what happened. That's what's passed
Oh, okay.
down.
Well,
right?
then that's how you actually. That's how it became like canonized, if you like.
Well,
like
you already okay.
like
So
there
Moses
is that version, you know. It's like if we
Moses
all agreed on like, oh, this is
pre-existed
the
Ptolemy.
Goonies. You know what I mean? Like we all know the script and we can recite it for scene, and that's what it is. We'll write it down now. We can agree that that's what it is. Isn't that the case with the Septuagint? So like, how could anything not like? How could you be right, Roots? If I'm
How could
if I'm
anybody
right,
question that?
how could you?
Yeah, good point. Hey, I'm just asking questions here. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I might lean towards this more than the Torah being the story of the LLX being genuine. You know, not only do we not have any of that Hebrew, we don't even have letters.
Dude, why are you lying?
We don't even have like evidence that Hebrew was even a thing back then. To be
Dude,
honest,
why are you making this stuff up, bro? Like you just
because
keep
nobody
making stuff
spoke
up,
Hebrew,
dogmatically making
nobody
stuff
was
up.
using Hebrew at the
You're making
time.
all these claims, right? You're accusing me of storytelling, but yet you're doing the same thing right now. So what makes your worldview superior to mine when at least I have archaeological evidence to support my premise and historicity? We have the origin story of the Septuagint, right? We have the origin. No, it's not too quick. We have the origin story. No, it's not. I'll explain why my position is superior.
You're saying,
if you allow me to speak.
you're saying,
If you
why
really
can't
speak,
I do what
if
you're
you don't
doing?
interrupt me. No, that's not what I'm saying, right? He's actually accusing me, right, of storytelling with no evidence, right? I don't actually have the original Pentateuch, right? Neither does he. He don't have the original Greek Pentateuch, nor do I have the original Torah of Moses, right? Yet he claims to have a superior position when at least I have historicity backing my side, right? So I have like we have Eusebius of Caesarea, who's known as the grandfather of church history, and he documents the origin of the Septuagint. He's not the only one, right? We have pieces, right? Fragments of Hebrew manuscripts that predate this one guy that you're talking about from the 1st century. So even though I don't have the original.
What kind of manuscripts, though?
Hebrew.
No,
Hebrew.
On what? You know what I mean?
He's talking
It's
about
not
the Dead
parchment.
Sea Scrolls.
Parchment.
Oh, you're going for the Dead Sea? Oh, I thought you were trying to trace the
So,
language back
hold on.
before that.
Well, hold on. He's claiming 1st century writings. We have arguably, right, 3rd century before Christ, Hebrew parchment, right, of the Torah, that if you compare to modern inscriptions of the Masoretic or even the Septuagint that we have in modern times, it's verbatim, dude, verbatim, right? Now we know that Moses was a figure that lived around the 15th century before Christ, right? So why would you expect 15th century before Christ manuscripts to have survived to 2026? It's an unreasonable request.
It must mean that the parchments that were put in sealed jars are authentic and cannot be forged by any means, in as far as man understands, in any possible way.
No, that is in the realm of possibility that the parchments have been false, that they're hoaxes, right? That they're frauds. But then you have to provide evidence.
Oh, we found a whole bunch of old paper
such
and ink.
a claim.
Who knows?
When we actually evaluate, right, the parchment, we're talking about lambskin. They wrote it on lambskin, and though it's not the original manuscripts that Moses wrote on, right, it's still copies of copies of copies of that original.
How do you accept that, but then deny all the Gnostic scriptures that were discovered like within the same areas, in the same fashion, stored in the same fashion? So it's like you want to pick and choose what you're willing to accept and then deny all within the same, you know.
Easy. It's easy. Yeah. Anybody worth
Yeah.
their salt, right?
And
If
not
you
accept the
analyze,
church.
yeah, if you compare the Holy Scriptures with the Gnostic Scriptures, it's obvious it's different authors, dude. None. If you actually like, I've read the Gnostic Scriptures.
But that's not the point. I know you're breaking up, Lion,
I've
but that's not the point, dude. The point is the
compared them.
authenticity of it. The fact that they were written in the
There's
same time periods. That's
no
the.
way in hell
Is he breaking up or is it
that
me?
Yeah,
is
he's breaking up.
that
No, he's breaking up.
Yeah,
that is the
God
pretty
works in
bad.
mysterious
same
ways, doesn't he?
author.
Thank God.
That author. I stopped talking. I stopped talking. Yeah, you
We're not.
obviously
We
haven't
can't
actually
hear
done a
you, Lion.
comprehensive analysis.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
but you're
just
in the
saying
same problem.
there's a lot of hoops you're jumping through to authenticate what it is you're leaning towards while dismissing all the other,
No,
you know,
dude, it's
claims
very
and.
easy. For example, I'll give you a good example, right? We have the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas, right? It claims to be a gospel authored by Thomas, yet doesn't even mention the gospel message, right? If you read it, it's not like anything that's ever been written from Genesis to Revelation. Incompatible, dude. Completely
Well,
different
you got
author.
to remember.
Not
You got to
even
remember.
we know the Spirit of God. We know how He writes. We know the character of God. All you have to do is read the Bible from front to back, and then go read the Gnostic text and tell me that it's the same author.
Right.
Any
The
any
argument
You
Christian
got
in
to
their right
remember the
no.
mind
fact.
could never ever say that the Gospel of Thomas was authored by the Holy Spirit.
You got to
You
remember
would
the
have to
fact
be
that a
willfully
lot of
ignorant.
the. You got to remember that a lot of the canon that you're referring to was written hundreds of years after Jesus's existence, where the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas or Timothy was an autobiography. It was written as Jesus spoke the words. So there's
False.
going to be a
False.
distinct difference.
False. False. Oh, nope, that's not even true. Most of the New Testament was written within 100 years of Jesus Christ, right? 90,
Well, I'm just
90,
saying.
90 AD,
I'm just saying.
90
You go
AD,
100 years
90
back from today.
AD, 90, hold on. 90 AD is when Revelation, give or take, was written. Every other text was written prior to that. So we're
So
talking
if we
about
were to go,
60, 70, 80 AD. Go ahead.
if we were to go 100 years back from today, and listen to how people spoke and how they wrote, it would be significantly different compared to today's speaking and writing and all those sorts of formalities. So there's going to be a difference. But I mean, to just hand wave dismiss the fact of that scripture being authentic versus the others, I don't know, man. I don't know how you do it. Like, I understand what you're saying, but how do you accept one and not the other?
Historicity, right? When you look in history, right, all the early church fathers denied those writings, bro. Those writings were Gnostic, were considered Gnostic for a reason. They had a different gospel, a different message that was not coherent nor harmonious with the New Testament that we have today. That's why they denied it. Nor
Yeah, but
did
then
they
you
have any
use the church.
authority, because when we have use the church. When we have the
Yeah,
churches,
and then you go against the church and invoke Enoch.
no, dude, that's what you see. But the thing is, you're presenting a false understanding of the church. The church is the body of Christ made up of multiple
Oh,
individuals.
so now you're
You have
changing what we were talking about. With
no,
when I said church, you knew exactly what I was talking about. The figures,
yeah,
right, in the
yeah, we have,
organization, the actual
yes,
authority, right?
yes,
You knew what I was talking about,
yes.
and now you're gonna
No,
convolute
no,
things.
no, no, because you're actually
Tactic.
blanket labeling the church, right? You're acting like the church, right? Who's the church? The church is the
The
body of
authority.
Christ.
Yeah, the
They're
authority on the people that
there's
study
hold
scripture,
on, dude.
right?
Hold on, bro.
The
Yeah,
ones
we have
that
the Eastern.
canonize the
Yeah,
material.
hold on, dude.
You're appealing to
Hold
them,
on,
and
dude.
then you're going
Yeah, hold on,
against
dude.
them.
Yeah, hold on, dude. Yeah, we have the Russian Orthodox Church, right? We have the Greek Orthodox Church. We have the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. We have the Assyrian Orthodox Church. We have the Eastern Church. We have the Church of the East, right? These are all churches, all part of the body of Christ, but all have different compilations of the Bible. When
Church
we
is chicken.
consider one of the oldest Orthodox Christian institutions in the world, the Tawido Ethiopian Church, they accept the Book of Jubilees. They accept the Book of
Yeah,
Enoch.
but
It's
guess
actually,
what?
it's
You don't
actually the
align with them.
oldest. Yes, I do align with them. See, this is your problem.
Oh, so
You,
that's your
you're done,
denomination?
dude. You're done, bro. You're done.
That's your
Guys, I think
denomination,
Jeremy's
or
trying
are
to get
you
in on
cherry
this.
picking from
You're
each
done. You're done.
denomination
You're
to
done.
create your
You're
own?
done. You're done. You're done. You're done. You're done.
I
The
think Jeremy's
oldest
trying to get
Christian
in on this.
institution in the world, the oldest Christian institution in the world accepts the Book of Jubilees and Enoch. You have no premise. Try again.
Right. All right. So you're going to say this is my authority for Scripture. That's what you're doing now. You're saying this church, right? This is my authority now. I align with them. But then you don't align with them, and you align with a different
I don't have,
denomination.
dude. Hold
And
on,
then you
hold
start
on.
cherry
Do you
picking
know?
all the
Hold on,
denominations,
bro.
and you're like, I got
Hold
my
on.
own
No,
denomination.
that's not an argument. That's not an argument, dude. Right? We have
That's
also a church.
That's exactly
We
my
have
argument.
we have one of the oldest and earliest Christian church fathers, known as Tertullian, who also endorsed the Book of
Just
Enoch. He
yelling
wasn't
doesn't
in it.
make you
Yo,
right,
hold
dude.
on, dude. Hold on, bro.
Yo, hold on, dude.
Yo,
I can
hold
do
on,
the same
dude.
thing, dude, and
Yo,
I can
hold
raise
on,
my
bro.
voice, dude.
You ain't got nothing.
guys.
You ain't got nothing. Yo, so
Take it down a notch.
Tertullian
what he
was not
does.
an
He just tries
Ethiopian
to
Jew.
dominate so he can
He was
carry
not
on.
an Ethiopian. No, hold on, bro.
Intensity on this matter.
Tertullian was not an
I'm
Ethiopian Jew, and he also endorsed the Book of Enoch as inspired scripture. What do you got to say about that?
What, you're fucking waffle about nothing?
Crickets.
About
You got
nothing?
nothing, dude. Try again.
I already called you out for what you're doing.
Next.
You're cherry
You're
picking
done.
what you like about
You're
certain
done.
denominations and claiming
You're
it's all.
done.
Yeah, I have all these authorities that conflict with each other, but yet they're all valid. Because
you
I
started
can create
off.
my own workshop, Build-A-Bear religion.
Nope, you started off acting like the church was all this homogenous religion that all agreed on canon. Little did you know, nope, you're wrong.
Ran away from that, didn't you? You're not responding to what I said.
All right, guys.
I did.
Easter's
I
right around the
directly
corner.
responded.
You know, maybe we should take it easy.
And guess what? None of them accepted the book of the Gospel of Thomas or the Lost Gospel of John or the Gospel of Peace, right? None of those books were accepted by any of these denominations.
And how
What does
many
this
clay
prove?
tablets do we have that pre-exist all your documents?
Struggling to understand what this actually proves.
Everything okay?
I think the Easter Bunny's feelings are a bit hurt, but everyone else is fine.
It proves
Could
you
see you
can
guys, low.
cherry pick what you like about certain religions and omit the rest of that religion, and then just, pick and choose what you like.
It's not cherry
I.e.
pick.
cherry pick.
I already
I know
told
you heard
you
me
my
talking,
denomination.
I know you heard me talking, cocksucker.
Okay, so go ahead. Finish. Wrap it up.
No, go ahead now. You want to interrupt me? Go ahead. You got so much to say.
So I
Emotionally
already
triggered,
told you my
as
denomination, dude. I explained to you, right, that I follow the original followers of the way known as the Nazarene, the Zadok priesthood. John the Baptist himself was a Zadok priesthood. So in the Dead Sea Scrolls, it's not my fault that you're not persuaded by the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's your own personal problem.
Are you consistent with their
the
following?
The earliest Christians accepted, right? We know by their temple library, they accepted 2nd Ezra, Tobit, the Book of Jubilees, the Book of Enoch.
Did you get that from Star Trek?
They were the authorized priests, according to Ezekiel, right? That they're the line of Aaron, descendants of Aharon. In the canon, right? If you go to Ezekiel 48, 43 through 48, it describes the Zadok priesthood appointed by David himself. These were the scribes. These were the men endowed with the responsibility of preserving the Sabbaths, the calendar, and the scriptures. These were the scribes themselves. Now, John the Baptist was a Zadok. You have the Dead Sea Scrolls that were found in the desert of Judea. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, they refer to themselves as the sons of Aaron, the Zadok priests themselves. The whole temple library was discovered in the caves, dude.
You
Preserved.
sure you're not confusing that with John the Apostle?
Yeah. Now, I'm not talking about John the Apostle, I'm talking about John the Baptist. So now you got to consider, who were these men, right? Because back then, most people were illiterate, right? Only a fraction of the population could actually read or write. Never mind, had access to the scrolls themselves, dude. The reason that we have the Isaiah scroll complete is because of them. They preserved it, the great Isaiah scroll. Now, who are these men that had access to the temple library if it wasn't the priests themselves? And they had the book of Jubilees. They have multiple copies of the book of Jubilees and the book of Enoch. So what greater authority than the Zadok priesthood who predicted the coming of the Messiah, Jesus Christ, to the day, to the year that he was born and when he was crucified.
No man knows the hour or the day at which Jesus will return.
I'm not saying when he will return. I'm saying when he was born.
Okay.
So while the Pharisees were oblivious, right, the Zadok priests were already expecting his coming and knew his coming was imminent. John the Baptist was already awaiting his arrival, his revealing. So when he showed up on the scene, John the Baptist instantly recognized him. He said, there he is, the Lamb of God who washes away the sins of the world. So he wasn't oblivious. The Zadok priests weren't oblivious. We know because there's a fragment called 11Q13 where they used the book of Daniel and Isaiah with the calendar to pinpoint exactly when he would arrive on the scene. Meanwhile, the Pharisees and Sadducees were oblivious. So these were the earliest Christians.
And then the wise men were able to track him down and all that stuff. So, yeah.
That's right.
But why did Jesus wash John's feet?
Because it was symbolic. It was ritual cleansing, right? The priests, they would wash their feet, wash their hands. They had mikvahs where they would cleanse themselves in, like these baptism pools. Washing each other's feet was like a priestly thing, and it was just a foreshadowing of the messianic age, where in the book of Peter, in the letter of Peter, it says that we are a royal priesthood.
Yeah, so and it was also an active. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go, bro. I talked enough. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Thank you. I thought maybe it was also a lesson to teach the disciples a lesson of humility, because some of them didn't even want to be washed by Jesus. I think it was Peter.
Well, there was some significant stuff that happened, because I'm pretty sure John baptized Jesus, didn't he?
Some say he did, some say he didn't. Whether he did or not isn't like a big deal, dude. But
I think there's something significant there.
We know John baptized Jesus. What's debated whether Jesus baptized John? But yeah, them washing each other's feet and everything was just
not make jokes.
signifying that they were going to be priests.
No joke, bro.
Ye are a royal priesthood.
Talking about ye priests, they gather for the feast until the mark of the beast.
You think if Jesus was alive today, he'd wear Air Jordans on his feet?
Nah, dude. Jordan is a scumbag, dude. I heard Michael Jordan is really like a scumbag, dude.
I'd be wearing Crocs, dude.
No, he'd be taking advantage of the 360 Max air cushion support for his
I guess
heels.
barefoot. Maybe something simple.
You got Air Jordans and you got water Jesuses, because he walked on water. I don't know. Just saying.
Yeah, everybody knows he's impartial to a good sandal.
Like the aqua
Yeah.
socks?
Yeah, it's something natural, not chemically made, I would say.
What's
I
the
would lean
topic?
towards
What
that.
shoes Jesus would wear?
Yeah.
Yeah, if he was
That's
alive
it.
today.
Of Nike description, I guess. Well, yeah, in Nike, I think colorways.
Obviously, he would wear Chacos or Tivas.
Kibos.
I'm not
He'd be
aware of
rocking
that.
Tivas. That's great.
Yo, Daiso,
They
so
might call
what's
them
up, man?
Tevas where you're from.
What's up, man?
What's up with Bitcoin, dude? And Epstein's connections with Bitcoin going back to 2014.
Well, the last time we seen Bitcoin in the red for as long as it's been, it was up 300% shortly after for about 6 months. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not a really big Bitcoin guy, but I know that regulatory clarity is underway, and probably by the end of May we should have it and see a whole new reformation of how currency is exchanged. So yeah, big stuff's coming. I don't know if Bitcoin will be a
And then
part
by
of it. I don't know.
2033,
I'm not sure about Epstein and the whole Bitcoin connection I've been hearing about, but Bitcoin is done for, bro. Bitcoin's done.
Yeah, because they discovered who's running it, bro.
Well, it was done long before that, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's not helping.
Man, I've been saying that, yo, what makes you think that the Jews are in control of Bitcoin, bro? And then the Epstein files came out, and Epstein was funding, like, the development of it.
It's just a hedge on the dollar, bro. That's it. That's all it ever was. Prop it up.
Yeah, I don't think Bitcoin's gonna be leading the future in terms of crypto. I think it's seen its day, in my opinion, but who
What's
knows?
that? You know that one billionaire? He's Spanish. He's mad old. He owns a castle in, like, Scotland. He says that once people discover who's behind Bitcoin, it's gonna drop to zero. Remember
Yeah.
what you know who I'm talking about? Pena?
I've seen the
Pena?
speech, he gave or whatever on that, or the little lecture talk. If
I
it's
mean,
the
that's a
same guy.
guarantee. That's a guaranteed. Once people crack that code, they're like, oh shit, it is a scam. Or it's not a scam. It could explode if there's somebody genuine behind it. But
Well,
the
I mean,
chances of somebody genuine being behind it is like slim to none.
it requires too much energy consumption to properly function, and I don't know if you're noticing all the energy issues we're having going on around the world, but yeah, dude, it's got a huge bottleneck that's gonna prevent it from being utilized, in my opinion.
Brazil still in
I
darkness
agree.
right now?
What?
Is Brazil still in darkness right now? Their whole fucking grid
Oh,
went down recently, right?
Cuba's in darkness.
I'm not sure,
Okay,
but
yeah, with Cuba.
I know this is going to be an ongoing event. Like I said, on every major continent, or every continent and every major nation, there's going to be these crazy rolling blackouts taking place.
I thought Brazil had all that ethanol production with the corn. What happened to that? Thought this whole renewable energy thing was supposed to transform Brazil. What happened? Why are they in darkness?
Well, I don't know. I'm surprised we're not seeing the supercritical CO2 motors taken over for energy production, but I don't know.
Weren't they running their cars on ethanol? Guess it's not enough. I don't know, man. It's strange times, dude. I don't see crypto blowing up. I don't see gold and silver blowing up, dude.
No, the people that are gonna make out are the ones that get out before it pops, because it's definitely gonna pop at this rate.
You don't think the
All
entire
back down to
financial
metals,
system
right?
is going to crypto? That seems
Hey,
obvious.
but
It's gonna.
Yeah, not Bitcoin though.
Yeah, definitely
I don't
not
think
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin's the answer.
Yeah,
weed
definitely.
prices are going up right now, though.
Oh,
Yeah,
You
it's
ain't
like
getting
Alex
rich,
Everything's
was
dude.
saying. Bitcoin is just way too slow and takes too much energy consumption. Like, why anyone would think everyone would use it is
silver's gonna
ridiculous.
spike soon, then, right?
What's gonna
If
spike?
weed's going higher,
Silver,
silver's gonna spike, right?
silver's supposed to spike, but the thing is, like at the current prices of silver and gold, like how you need a lot of money, dude, to really get a good return on investment, bro. Like,
Yeah, percentage gains with silver have always been low.
We just grow the weed now, then we'll convert it to silver. By the time we get to silver, Bitcoin will be back on the verge, and then we'll convert it to gold, waiting for it to get parity with Bitcoin, and then we'll swap. Or not.
Isn't
We'll just do something else.
isn't silver down like 50% from a couple months ago?
yeah, dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know what's going on, man. It's shit's weird.
Yeah, but everything is.
Buy now, sell
Everything's
later.
down.
You know what I mean?
Well, not everything, but almost everything is down. Like, what's not down right now?
It's
gas and the
the
price of
end of the
coochie.
world as we know
Yeah,
it.
ass is still high. Well, because the
Gas and
cosmetics are going
grass.
higher.
Yeah, anything that doesn't have to do with the military is, like, I would say, is going to go down.
Is it not becoming obvious that the crypto market is a scam? Trying to
I just want to
steal
keep dollar
the
store as a real
average
thing.
people.
It's
Yeah,
bait, but
okay.
I think it's bait, but you can make out like a motherfucker if your timing is fortunate. Like
It's
if
a
you time
scam, but
it just right, you're gonna be. You could potentially get.
No, it's
filthy
not a
fucking
scam,
rich.
dude. You guys are
I'm not saying.
scamming
Hold on, hold
yourselves
on.
by imploring that thought, dude. Like all of you guys, dude, that aren't invested in crypto will, mark my words, will one day look back and smack the shit out of yourself, dude, for not focusing on the real big picture here.
Okay, okay. Let me say this: the majority of the cryptos are scams. There might be one or two that are worthwhile, but it's anybody's best guess. You're saying it's gonna be Ripple, dude.
Which one has the most clarity, Lion? Which one has been already identified as a commodity and not a security? I mean, you got to understand, dude. There's only been one crypto that's had any sort of approval from the financial sectors and governments alike. So, I mean, we could sit here and speculate all we want, but the facts are the facts.
There's not right now. There's not a lot of confidence in Ripple either, dude. People are backing out of Ripple.
Bro, you're talking about public investors, dude. Just retail investors, dude, that are retarded most of the time, dude. Like, yeah, there's gonna be that. There's gonna be people going, "Oh, I didn't get rich today. I'm upset." Like, it's just not how it works, though, bro. This, like, if you're trying to get into this thinking you're gonna get rich tomorrow, good luck, dude. Like, you should probably have like a 5 to 10 year plan in play and not allow your emotions to guide you.
Yeah, but Bearable Bull told me XRP was going to the moon.
Bearable Bull's been talking this shit fucking for like 5 years, bro.
I
Yeah,
know,
that's
dude.
funny.
That's why I jumped off the train, dude. I was early in crypto. I actually did make some money off it, but I started to realize that there's some scam artists pushing the YouTube videos.
Well, I wouldn't call them scam artists. I mean, I would just say that they're enthusiasts who, are several steps ahead, but a little bit,
Can I get
they're a
over
little
there?
too ahead.
My
What?
yard's right there.
Oh, God.
Please.
Hot mic there,
Hot
Lion.
mic
What are you
line.
yelling at, some Palestinian or something? What are you doing?
Baby, please.
Trying to get the dog to shit in the yard. Hold on.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of manipulation in crypto, and there's a lot of scammers who are content creators. But that doesn't mean that crypto is worthless or a scam at all. Like, it will be the financial system, undoubtedly. It's just a matter of time and which ones will win out.
Yeah, which crypto? Who's cracking that code if you're not on the inside?
Well, it's just
How
the
do you
actual
even know?
utility tokens. Most of them are just complete shit coins, right? But if you look at XRP or XLM or HBAR, like the ones that actually have utility, those would probably be good bets. It would be like betting on Amazon opposed to dingdongdo.com or
Right,
something in the 90s.
What
Oh yeah,
happens if
ding
they
dong.
introduce a new one
they're selling
and they
yeah, go ahead.
what if they introduce a new one, right? And then all of a sudden this goes public. Every single Bitcoin, if you haven't cashed out on your position, you're cooked. You're completely done for if they introduce something new with federal backing.
You mean like CBDCs?
They
Hmm.
call
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they could call it
Yeah,
like
nobody wants that.
the blue coin, right? They could just call it blue coin. And
Nobody
then
wants
it's
the
like,
government
okay,
scam money, bro.
it's recognized by the feds, it's backed by the government, and all of a sudden, every single other Bitcoin just took a dump.
I personally don't think that's how it's going to happen. They are going to have CBDCs or stable coins that are government backed, right? But that doesn't mean that you don't need the utility coins like XRP also. And Bitcoin, yeah, it is kind of worthless. It has no utility, but it's just first to market, and scarcity. So like, I don't think
Well,
Bitcoin's going to zero, but it has no utility. It's really dumb.
Well,
well, with the
eventually,
whole stablecoin Genius Act, the government doesn't necessarily have to be directly involved with the stablecoin because they're already going to get their fucking fair share out of it. So it's kind of rigged, but at the end of the day, we need it to move forward. We need crypto to be moving forward. And I don't know if you've looked into the Clarity Act, OSCO, but it doesn't look that incentivizing for a lot of these crypto creators. But at the end of the day, it's like, what are we going to do? Are we going to just continuously stifle the innovation, or are we going to like try and get some sort of game plan going and reformulate things down the road? We gotta start somewhere.
From my understanding, the biggest like holdup on the Clarity Act is whether or not banks are the only ones who can, give gains or give incentives for staking, right? So they're saying if just random crypto companies can give people rewards for holding their money there, then it'll put banks out of businesses. So they don't want crypto companies to be able to do that. Ironically,
Right,
if banks win, Ripple is a bank or will be a nationally recognized bank very
right.
soon. So it will be very good for Ripple probably if the banks win.
Yep. And I mean, you're talking about the small fries here, bro. Like, I didn't get into this, dude, for staking rewards. I'm sorry. I mean, that's just the icing on the cake, but that's not like the end all be all, solution to this thing. It's just they want a little piece of the pie. Fine, they can have some crumbs. I'm okay with that. Let's just keep this moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully it passes soon because if it doesn't, then we could be fucked for like the next multiple years. Like if the Democrats win the midterms, like we could be done.
Yes, that's what they're worried about. They need all of this to go through as smoothly as possible, as quickly as possible, to prevent that possibility from taking place. Otherwise, America at large is cooked.
Yeah, but they've secured it with the gerrymandering, So there's no, I mean, but why would there even, be a reason for? I don't know. Are you talking impeachment or something like that?
What are you
That's
saying,
weird.
bro?
But it's like the amount of like just regular public stations, and I'm talking like CBS Radio, were just playing like "Impeach the President" and shit like that. I was like, wow, that's weird. I'm like, this is kind of a catchy song from the '70s, but they're playing it on the regular radio. It's weird, but that's just this area.
Dude, he
You know what I
wants
mean?
that though.
Whatever.
That's paid for advertising by him. That's exactly what he wants. Because if he gets impeached, it nullifies his current run, and he can run again.
yeah, yep, that's the
Oh, that'd
So
be
It's a
amazing.
win-lose-win-win situation.
and
Kind of thing.
then
yeah,
we'll stay in Iran for another 4 years.
That's a hella 15D kind of move.
and
I
then
don't think it'll work.
he's gonna watch. Yeah, never mind. I'm not gonna get into all that. He's gonna use Epstein to his advantage to get impeached, and then come right back. Say it was AI.
I mean, you guys can say what you want about Trump, dude, but at least we didn't get fucking Kamala Harris.
No, I'm not saying anything bad. Like it's bad on both sides, but I was just talking to my wife about that. Like that's even funnier, right? Because how quickly they're dismantling the trust on both sides in this two-party system. Like just a couple years ago, underneath Kamala, you had Tim Walz, and he was like the golden boy next up for the left. And now he just got like publicly crucified for all that fraud and Somali daycare bullshit. And it's just so funny how quickly the tides will turn.
Well, that just tells you that the pendulum swings pretty fast sometimes. So I wouldn't say never for never on any of this bullshit right now.
When do you think this Clarity Act will be summed up and official, Osco? Or Levelist?
I'm
Or
definitely not
anybody?
an expert. I'm not an expert on that Clarity Act. I heard it's going to go down a little different. They won't officially call them CBDCs. It's just going to be stable coins. And they're already functioning. They're kind of already functioning the way you envision Ripple to be functioning in the future. So
It would seem like though. Okay, I'm sorry.
I was just, what was the question? I heard my name, but my internet was acting. I
Oh,
was just joining.
yeah. I was trying to see what your thoughts were on the Clarity Act being official and active. Like, when do you see that taking place?
I don't know. Brad Garlinghouse says by the end of May, so I'm just going to believe him. I have no
Right.
idea if that's true or not, though. I mean, there's too much. Like, I don't understand how the politics work. It seems like it's big banks against Coinbase right now, and they're at a complete stalemate because like Coinbase could basically put banks out of business if everyone just puts their money on Coinbase and then they can offer rewards on it. Then why would you put your money in banks? So I think that's the holdup. But I'm not really super educated. I'm just sort of trusting what I hear from Brad.
Well, banks are going to have to completely change the way they're doing business. I mean, there's no mistake about that. Whether or not they'll be completely obsolete at the end of the show, I don't know, but I think they're going to try and do everything they can to keep them relevant and in the scene, because you got to understand how many people would be, losing jobs and just completely high and dry, and that would be catastrophic for the economy. So they're going to
How's
try
it?
to weave them into this somehow.
How's it not just a transfer though? It's like the banks are gonna get fucked. It's like, all right, are we talking the banks or are we talking the people running the banks? That's
Well, the
all I
banks,
the people
the
running the
banks should be
banks are just
excited
gonna
in
be
one
like, oh, we're
sense.
running Bitcoin now or crypto.
I mean, the bank should be excited in one sense because they've got essentially this new technology that they could be utilizing if they play their cards right. And instead of being completely relevant, like, they could have some, I don't know, some better features for their customers.
Well,
Like
a
gonna
big
be, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say a big part of the problem is so like right now, like you have like thousands upon thousands of small banks, right? And they all use the big banks, Charles Schwab, et cetera, to run their transactions. So every transaction that happens, the rails that the money's being transferred on is through the big banks. So the big banks get a cut out of all the small bank stuff. And then if something like XRP or whoever comes along where you don't need the big bank stable coins, you don't need the big bank's infrastructure to run the transactions, then they don't have that upper edge. So it puts all of the small banks on the same level as the big banks, and then, rich people don't like to give up their money. So that's kind of what the big fight is about, in my understanding.
Well, they don't
Everybody has
have
a
to.
diamond minecart.
Yeah, they don't have to put the money up front. They don't have to be the front man for the transaction either. So there's a lot of incentive there too. And then it's all, everything gets hashed out instantaneously. Like there's no, things taking place on the back end days later. It's just instantaneous. So
Yeah, and there's
which
no
is going to
middleman taking
eliminate.
all the cuts, basically. There's
Yep.
just everyone takes a cut along the way.
And then the fact that all these Nostra Vostra accounts are going to be eliminated, dude, that's, $280 trillion worldwide that's going to just get dumped into the liquidity pool. I mean, that's huge in itself, dude, let alone all the other things that are going to take place. So,
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know how it's all going to play out. Like I have my theories, but I'm not actually very educated, so I don't know. But it just seems obvious to me that cryptocurrency is going to be how we send and spend money in the future. That's just inevitable because it's exponentially more, efficient and cheaper than what we're doing now. So it's going to be crypto. And Ripple and XRP have built their entire business for the last decade around being like an institutional thing, not a fringe thing. So it makes sense to me that the company that's built its entire brand and company around being the institutional thing will win, not just some random shitcoin. So that's my
right.
my broad perspective. I don't know if it's accurate or not, but that's the way I see it.
Well, I mean, the networking should speak for itself. If you look at who they're partnered with and what countries and banks are already on board, like no other crypto has that networking already established with the utility to support it and the beta testing and just everything. Like it's like if there was any competition out there, dude, they're decades late to the race.
So,
Yeah.
what do you guys think?
Oh, go ahead, man.
Sorry, my finger slipped. What was that? I was kind of curious. Like, how do you think that they're going to get rid of cash? Sorry, my
Same way
I
Japan
don't
did
think
it.
they will.
Same way China did it, though.
I don't think
They
they
already
will,
have
dude.
the blueprint. They could easily get rid of it. But I mean,
well,
I
how
think that
did
would take a
China do
long
it?
fucking time. China just started slowly switching everything over to digital, like the debit card. They just
Same way
kept
we went
going
to
down
credit.
that
Yeah, but
route.
you got to get rid of the cash. Like the cash has got to go to zero or something. Because I still do transactions with, dude, one of my major kind of suppliers does only cash transactions.
Dude,
So
there's
the trick is
countries that only allow cash transactions, like the Philippines. If you wanted to pay your employee, it has to be in cash, and any other currency, dude, is illegal to use. But I don't think cash
That's
is going
interesting.
away.
The Great Reset.
Yeah,
well, you
yeah, I don't
just
think
use
cash is going away, man.
What if it
It's just
goes?
going
Yeah.
to
just
What
get
if
use
it
the
phased out
becomes
corporation.
slowly.
worthless, dude?
Use the businesses, put incentives towards the businesses to not deal in cash, right? Give them breaks or discounts or incentives so they'll want to force their customers to use debit cards or credit cards or whatever it is. Like you already see that happening. Like that's
Yeah.
currently happening right now in the United States. So it's like just more of a push towards that. The banks back it up financially. Every customer or every business owner is gonna be like, this is a no-brainer. I could just make money from people buying shit from me. All right, well
It's
that's
more of
gonna
a
eliminate.
liability. Cash is more of a liability, dude, in the sense like, let's just say you had a few $1,000,000 and you are responsible to be your own bank and safeguard that few $1,000,000. You think it's going
Bro,
to be easier with cash money or with crypto?
that's like
Rich?
saying
Definitely.
gold.
Yeah.
That's like saying
I,
gold is less valuable than crypto or cash. No, gold is more valuable. The physical object is way more valuable because once it's on a network,
So
it can be seized.
so you're not understanding how this works. They can't just seize your crypto. Right now they can seize your cash. They can do civil
No, they
forfeiture.
can't.
Yeah, if you'd let me explain to you, there's a thing called civil forfeiture, in case you're unaware, right? Where they can seize all of your assets, freeze your bank account, literally take everything you own from you until you prove yourself innocent in court. Okay.
Well, it depends
And
on what that is, but no, they can't take something they don't know about.
well, the point is, dude, is if you're holding millions of dollars in your house, which is probably where you're going to be holding it if it's not in a bank, then yes, they can seize that. They can seize your entire property, all of your property. Crypto, right? You can hide crypto on a fucking USB drive somewhere on a keychain, you know, like, nah, bro.
Why can you put one physical object somewhere, but you can't put the other physical object?
Because the size. The size. Do you know how large $2 million is in cash, in
Couldn't they
cubic
just wrap it
volume?
with a magnet or something though? Couldn't
But
they just
even
put a
that, it's
mad
like you
electronic
have a
screw?
wallet. Hold
Can I
on,
just
you
say
have a
one thing
wallet,
real
right?
quick?
But you have a wallet that's attached to an ID. It's not like these wallets are untraceable. Like, I don't know why that we're trying to like put that as a thing. They could trace every wallet back to the owner if they want.
You do have
No,
offline
not
wallets, dude.
necessarily.
Can I just say
There
one
are
thing
ways.
really quick?
Yeah,
You
Have you
can
seen the
look
There's
offline
custom.
no
wallets?
way.
you can hide your crypto in your mind. It does not have to even be on a
That's
hard
true.
drive or thumbstick. You can just memorize the 24-word phrase, and then they would have to torture you to get it out.
That is true. And you could also divvy it up amongst 4 family members to where no single individual actually has the keys rather than the collaboration of those
Okay.
individuals. I mean, there's
Is
multiple
it
ways to do this, but the point is cash is more of a liability at this point than crypto in the sense of physicality and, you know, holding it.
So how do you get it into these wallets and never being traced, putting it into the wallet in the first place?
It's always going to be
There is a
traced.
trace.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
Well,
they
There is
there's
own the network,
there is a
they're
trace.
tracing everything.
if
Yeah, but
that
you
were the
can't
case,
access
then we
it.
would know who Satoshi Nakamoto was,
Yeah,
right?
I think that's known. Yes, I think
No,
that it's
it
not
isn't
known for
known.
the
They don't
common
know who
folk.
Satoshi Nakamoto is. The day he
Yeah,
is discovered is the day Bitcoin goes to zero.
no. That's like saying if the public doesn't know, then the government can't know.
The only thing they can know, dude, is that the funds were transferred to a private wallet, an offline wallet, and they, unless that wallet has unless that USB drive has a tracker on it, then there's no way to know who owned that offline wallet.
Yeah,
You
you can
just
find
know
I
out
mean,
who
who
owned
it
that
was
hard
moved.
drive.
we've got is an IP address and a location. That's it. We know that
No, you have way
it was
more than
last
that.
online somewhere in California.
You have way more than that, dude. Way more.
Well, if that was the case, we would know who he is. And like I
That's
said,
what I'm saying. We don't have
Bitcoin
access to that.
Bitcoin is
They're
all
coming.
riding on Satoshi Nakamoto's anonymity. Once that is dissolved, it goes to zero because of how Bitcoin is set up.
Dude, I don't it's like I don't know. Are you guys not aware that
Doesn't that seem like an
your
incredibly
provider,
fragile system to put your faith in? Where
yeah,
if
your
this one
provider
guy
Yeah, I
gets
know. It's like you just got
knocked,
done saying, "No, it's the future," and it's like, bro, that does
And
not
crypto
seem
we trust,
stable.
right?
Your provider can access everything on your PC, like the make, the model, all your hardware, your whole configuration. Your internet service provider can access that through back doors that are written into the
Yeah, but an
firmware
offline wallet.
on your your CPUs. So
Yeah, he
like,
doesn't
Yeah, but
there's no
understand how
way
the
around
system.
an offline wallet is completely separate from your computer, right? You've got a
You
physical
have to use the computer.
got a physical storage device, and if that storage device is created with a tracker, then yes. But if this is created without any tracking ability, then the only thing you've got is the wallet was moved to a device, and there may be a serial number on that device, and yeah, but I'm pretty sure that that's all they will know. They
Well,
won't
you would
know
have
who
to.
bought this
How could you do
device.
that then? How could you get around that? How could you get around the fact that, all right,
Own the
they already
company.
know what PC, who owns that PC? They know whatever that wallet, right, was when it was moved to the USB, when all that data was put onto that USB, they can figure that out. What PC and who owned that
Yeah.
PC?
But then
Okay.
if you get rid of that
So how could
PC
they
or
not
you
track
use a
it?
different PC, yeah, but they
How
can track it to a dead end. Do you know what I mean? They
how
can't
That's
hard
what I
prove
is
that
it?
mean. Like,
you're.
it's going to come to a person that owns the PC, or someone that is
Yeah, but
on that PC, right? And
Yeah,
but
then
but
all these if you say you went into like a company and you're like, oh, yeah, all right, yeah, I work for this company. I'm just going to go to my coworker's PC, do it without him knowing. They'll track all that back down to the time of day you did it, and then just pull up the video files.
right?
So you'd have to delete that on top of
even
it.
if they got you though, that doesn't mean they got your crypto. That's the whole point. It's all stored on a cold wallet, right? Which is separate from you. Sure, it might be traced back to you, but that doesn't mean they can seize your crypto and garner your crypto somehow.
I mean, how hard is it really to get access to Daiso's back door?
How
But
much money you got?
then how you gonna operate?
Ask your girlfriend.
How you gonna buy anything with this crypto
Never heard
money
this.
if it's not tied to you? You think
Can I
it's
just
all
say-
gonna be like anonymous purchasing? How the fuck's
I
anybody
think-
gonna pay taxes? No,
think-
everybody's gonna have their own digital ID on it's the only way it could work.
Just one quick thing, like you can't transfer your Bitcoin to a USB. You're not transferring it. Like all of the crypto and all the Bitcoin exists in like on the chain, in the cloud, on the internet. So it's always there. You're not actually transferring it offline. It's always
Just
there.
access.
So you're transferring your access to it, and that's all.
Yeah. So
I
it's
never
like, I
heard
don't know.
this thing where if this guy who created Bitcoin gets like sufficiently doxxed, that the Bitcoin goes to zero. Why would that be?
Because whoever he's connected to, if they're not a noble character, everybody's gonna lose confidence in it.
It just
If you
depends.
lose confidence in Bitcoin, it's useless.
But the biggest thing, and I was
Yeah.
arguing with Angling about this a couple weeks ago, if those Satoshi era wallets come on, like 25 to 30% of all Bitcoin exists in Satoshi's wallet and Satoshi era wallets, if they come on and start flooding the market and selling it, Bitcoin's just going to dump in price, and then no one will want to mine any more of it because it won't be worth the energy cost to mine more of it, so it'll just continue to fall.
So the inventor still holds like 25% of the coin.
I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's something around there. 25 to 30% of all Bitcoin is owned by Satoshi or Satoshi era wallets that haven't been active in like a decade plus.
What happens when he dumps 5%?
Exactly. When he starts, if
Boom.
that comes online and starts selling Bitcoin, the entire price of Bitcoin is going to plummet, and everyone else is going to start selling because it's just going
Yes.
to plummet more. And then the energy cost that it takes to mine Bitcoin and even send
Well,
those
you have-
transactions won't be worth the miners doing it. So the whole thing could just collapse.
And you got to
Alright, what if
understand how
this whole time-
Bitcoin was. Go ahead.
What if this whole time he's been dropping 0.5% in
We would have
intervals?
seen him. We would have seen him come online, and he hasn't come online in fucking long time, bro. Like, what is it, 15 years or something crazy?
Well, how would you know?
Because you could see the activity, dude. It's public.
Yeah, it's all part of the public ledger. Like people know what his wallet is. They've identified the Whales wallets, the Satoshi era wallets, Satoshi's wallet himself, and you can just see the activity on chain.
Yeah, but you got to understand how Bitcoin was set up, bro. It's uniquely different than that of Ripple
I don't-
XRP per se.
I'm
Right?
not buying
Like,
that. I don't think he just
I
has
don't know,
one
bro.
wallet.
Can you hear me, bro?
I don't know. Everybody's chopping each other, man.
Calm down, dude. You just got back. We don't
That's
need you
Rigor's
to
thing.
take
That's
off
what he does.
again.
When someone's telling you something and you're saying, I don't know, I mean, usually kind of sit back and listen so you can know.
Well, the way you
anyway.
framed it. Yeah, the way you frame it is like there's just this one wallet that this guy that created Bitcoin was too stupid to make millions of wallets or thousands of wallets, and all that money is in this single wallet. I'm like, I don't know, dude. That doesn't make fucking sense to me.
That's why I said Satoshi and Satoshi era wallets. Like we know the wallets that were created and started getting Bitcoin, during the creation of Bitcoin like 15 years ago or whatever.
You say no money's moved out of those wallets at all, ever.
There are wallets that come online and people start selling, but like the big whales, the people holding the most, Satoshi himself, etc., like not most of those wallets, but there are a number of huge holdings that have just been completely stagnant, since the beginning.
A non-zero chance that somebody just lost their password.
Yeah. I'm not buying that idea that he like all his holdings were in like main wallets.
Well, I'm
Like,
surely if he's a real person and not like a government agency or something.
Definitely
like
not a
that.
real person.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
we're
think
gonna
he's a real
say
person.
that. What makes you think that it's an actual individual, dude?
No, I think it's the feds. I think the feds. This is like Bitcoin. specifically, I think that was all orchestrated as a hedge to the dollar. by
This
the
was all
Fed.
by design, bro. Like, you got to understand how Bitcoin is set up, dude. And it's like whoever has the most Bitcoin has a huge say in how Bitcoin is going to fork and just all the things that are going to take place, dude. And I'm pretty sure Satoshi Nakamoto is majority owner of the majority of Bitcoin out there. Could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he's close, if not the majority stakeholder.
Was he an American citizen, or is it like a non-American citizen has all this
We don't know,
influence?
bro. We
Financial
have no
sector?
idea.
There you
No
go.
clue. So,
Then you're back in the same trap.
but the day it comes out of who he is, dude, people are going to lose faith in Bitcoin, because then they're going to realize that this guy could just do something funny and all their fucking shits, goes up in smoke. So that's the problem with Bitcoin.
Well, what's your top 3 guesses on who that person could be that would cause that much disassociation from it?
I've heard, what is it, Jack Dorsey or whatever, as being a potential candidate. I don't know how true that is, but the information is there though if you look at it, and he's definitely on the
What
list.
about him and his personality or whatever, I guess, or his past endeavors would make everybody run away from it? Like, who's Jack Doherty?
Well, it's just the fact that everybody's liveliness is in the hands of a single individual. It's just the way Bitcoin is set up. It's not
McAfee said it was the British guy. He said if you look at the white paper, all of the vernacular used in the white paper was all British English, not American English. So I can't remember his name.
John
We just don't
McAfee.
know.
Yeah.
I personally take the white pill perspective on it. I think that it's David Schwartz, Arthur Brito, and Jed McCaleb, and they started Bitcoin, and they realized that Bitcoin could not fulfill the job that they wanted it to do, and then that's why they ultimately created Ripple and
Created
XRP.
XRP. Yeah. Yeah, I have heard that too. I have heard that. I mean, I know that David Schwartz was involved with a lot of the code writing early on for Bitcoin. If you look at the evidence for him, yeah, dude, like, he's definitely involved with the creation of Bitcoin.
Can Ripple do that Bitcoin can't?
Well, XRP is the 2.0 version of Bitcoin, dude. It can do a lot of things that Bitcoin cannot do.
I mean, just the simplest thing to point out is Bitcoin's proof of work, and Ripple and XRP is proof of consensus. And there's exponentially more XRP, so you can actually use it on, like, the whole world could use XRP, where the whole world couldn't use Bitcoin, not just because it's slower, which it is slower, but because there's so few Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, there would be a lot to have to explain to get into that.
Okie doke.
Anyways, we can get on to another topic.
But just one last thing. It's as simple as, like, the main difference, or the most easy to understand difference, is how it's mined, right? With Bitcoin, you need to use a shit ton of energy. With Ripple and XRP, you don't need to use a shit ton of energy.
Yeah, to me, that's like a big one right now. Like, I guess that's how the conversation started as well, right? Because we're having some sort of energy issues right now around the world. And
It's very weird that our digital currencies attempt to mimic the scarcity element that we find in ancient currencies as a way of like controlling cost or controlling price. like even like the words we use, like mining, like implies like I'm digging something out of the earth, and like I'm digging gold. It harkens back to like that idea of digging something valuable out of the dirt.
It's more of a formula. Effort divided by readily availableness of the thing it is that you're mining versus value. I mean, there's a lot of factors involved, variables, but it's all about,
You could say the same of any physical mining operation.
yeah. I mean, it's a similar concept. You know, it takes effort and work before you're rewarded, and the rewards aren't just instantaneous. Like, you've got to put forth time and effort and energy.
I just think it is just like strange that that this digital currency is seeking to like imitate or maybe like that it necessitates that like imitation of scarcity. Like there's no real reason like you could make infinite like kitty bucks if you really wanted to. They just be valueless. So you need to, like, as a necessity of it being currency, like it needs to be scarce. And the way they found to do this is by like through this mining process.
Well, you've got different types of assets, as I've said on here many times, the finite, inflationary, and deflationary. So things that are, there's no limitations to them, then yeah, you're going to have a lot of manipulation taking place. But something that's a deflationary asset, meaning the amount of that asset goes down over time to the point where, it's going to have an effect on the value of that certain thing naturally. And a lot of cryptos aren't like that. A lot of cryptos are inflationary or like Bitcoin finite.
I just hope
So
that Trump gets us out of this war soon and this doesn't drag on for multiple years and all markets just dump to shit. I really would like for crypto to go up. And it's not going to happen if Trump gets us into World War III.
well, I think it's all right now hinging off regulatory clarity, dude. Once we get the proper framework and legend on how to identify cryptos and their use cases and whatnots, and there's some sort of guide rails for how things are going to function, then no matter what is ensuing within the world, like crypto, it's not going to be based on people's faith in it. It's going to be based on its use case, and it will be used. And the fact that it is being used is going to inevitably drive the price points up the more things it gets tokenized too. So it's not going to be like a traditional stock market where, any sort of uncertainty in the global scheme of things is going to have an effect on investors. Like it's unique to that. But I get your point. Like right
Yeah.
now, because we're dealing with retail. Retail is the only thing driving the market since day one. But all of that is going to change very soon with this Clarity Act, and that's what I'm anticipating.
Yeah, I basically agree. I mean, long term, I think it's inevitable, but in the short to mid term, it would really be nice if we were not in World War III. We
I
go to World
agree.
War III.
I agree. I don't want to see that happen. As much as Lion does, and wants Messiah to come back, I don't.
You don't want Messiah to come back?
Not tomorrow. Not tomorrow, Elbow. I want to enjoy that crypto a little bit. You know what I mean? I want to know what it feels like to not have to fucking slave my life away and actually take a breath and let my shoulders down and enjoy life for a bit, man. That would be nice. or maybe have the opportunity to shape the reality we're within a little bit versus just being another cog in the wheel and having no say in anything. You know, that would be nice too.
Crypto will do all that.
Yeah, bro. Crypto is going to mint the world's first trillionaire. Um, who knows? I mean, who knows,
That
dude? Who
Elon
knows what's going to
already?
come of this? Well, I wouldn't say it's not. I don't know. It's hard to say what his net worth really is.
He's close, but not there yet.
Well, they
I
were
think
talking about
Rosie
some
Real.
$1 trillion deal.
Yeah, I don't know if we've got a trillionaire yet, but crypto will definitely make that happen. We'll see the world's first trillionaire minted via crypto. Who knows? You could be talking to him right now.
You got that much crypto?
Nah, but
Nah, Dyslow's definitely not got a dog in this race. He's definitely not got a conflict of interest, have you, Dyslow?
Has anybody been getting disconnected, like from Discord? I mean, I've been doing it like constantly.
Yeah, entire servers have been going down just for like 1 second at a time. It's very weird, but it's happening.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like a full disconnect. It's just like a millisecond, and then it's just
did you guys get disconnected too, or was that just me?
yeah. No, it's been doing that all day.
Dude, I'm telling you, bro, it's these energy fucking crunches, dude. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Some weird shit.
Did
Just did it again, didn't it?
Yep.
And this is why Bitcoin will never be the number one crypto.
Never be the number one. You're going to erase the last 17 years.
Well, there is that. I heard on AM radio, forget who the lady was that was talking, but she was talking about something about going to the moon and said something about someone going around the moon or something like that. And instead of saying moon, she said room. I don't know. It seemed almost intentional. And then she laughed and played it off, but I don't know. It's kind of funny. Osco, if you're still there, dude, how soon after this Regulatory Clarity Act or whatever passing do you think crypto will start surging in price?
I don't know. I mean, it would just be a guess by me, but my hunch would be that there'll probably be like well, there will probably be a lag of like 6 months to a year because like people are buying the news, and so people are buying the hype or whatever you say, so people are already pricing that in, and so
Well,
if it actually does pass, it's priced in, and then once like the utility actually kicks in and like institutions start using it more, that's when the price would go up. But I don't really know.
well, the thing is we've got these dark liquidity pools where these institutions have been purchasing crypto behind the scenes without us having any sort of awareness of it. So they're already positioned. If you factor that in, does that change your timeline, making it a little sooner than 6 months to a year? Because for me, it does. All right now, currently, like all the money in crypto is, like I said, all from retail. Like we haven't even seen the corrections from the institutions' investments. Um, I'm kind of guessing like we'll see something publicly of like maybe a month or two after, and then we'll have this huge um, increase in the crypto space in its entirety, which will just have a subsequent effect on the price points.
Yeah, it could be. I just don't. There's too many unknown variables. I don't really know anything except for a little bit about XRP. And like one of the things, like even outside of like the dark pools or the whatever they call it, what is that right? Dark pools.
Yeah.
They institutions can. You know how XRP or Ripple releases 1 billion XRP every month. You're aware of that, right?
What do you mean releases it once a
So
month?
that so that's how it goes in. So they take 1 billion XRP every month, right? And it's set to release, and they sell them to exchanges, to dark pools, etc. And so usually what happens is like they'll end up selling like 300 million of them or something like that, and then put another 700 million back into escrow. But something that they're allowed to do and that they could have done, but we don't know if they have done it, is sell the access to those monthly releases. So, say a big institution, say Charles Schwab, wanted a billion XRP for some reason. Charles Schwab could have already bought the right to that billion XRP that's released in May 2026 or in June 2026. And so they could have already bought it, but they haven't actually bought the coin. They've just bought the release, if that makes sense.
Well,
So even
doesn't
outside of the dark pools, that could have already happened.
I mean, doesn't that
They
create an
they ship
issue
oil.
with institutes front running the market like we've seen in a lot of different
Yeah, it's how they
categories?
buy oil, though. It's the
Yeah,
same
there's,
exact way. They
yeah,
just buy
there's,
the projected barrels that will be potentially produced in the future.
yeah,
That's how
exactly.
they lock in the rates.
Yeah, I mean, they will front run the market. I mean, if XRP is the chosen one or whatever is chosen to be used, suffice it to say or rest assured that the institutions will front run the market and they will make a lot of money. That doesn't mean that like someone like you who got in early and like, probably have an average XRP price of like 15 cents or something like that. Yeah, of course you're going to make money. But like the person who gets in when, if let's just say hypothetically, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but XRP goes to $1,000 or $100 or $10,000 or whatever, like the people who are buying on the way up, the institutions are just going to be 10 steps ahead of them. So they will have already bought it, and that's just the way it works. They price retail out very quickly and they make all the money.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So like if Charles Schwab's comes out and says, "Oh, by the way, we have a billion XRP because we bought this 2 years ago, the right to this release after the Clarity Act or whatever," the price skyrockets up and then a normal retail investor can't get in anymore because the price has skyrocketed so much, but they're sitting on their bag of a billion XRP. And then the following month comes out, and then some other institution says, "Oh yeah, we have the right to this billion XRP." And then just like there won't be any XRP for anyone to buy except for retail selling between one another, and it will, it just will be impossible to get into it. That was a convoluted way of saying I don't know. There's too many unknown variables, and I don't even know with XRP if the price needs to be as high as people say it does. Like, does it actually need? Like, can it? Be very effective for all the banks and institutions at $5? Maybe. Does it need to be $1,000 like a lot of people say, or $10,000 like people say? Maybe. I just don't know. I'm just not smart enough.
Did you mean Klaus Schwab?
No, Charles Schwab, the bank.
Who's Charles Schwab?
The bank.
The bank.
Oh right, is that? I thought you meant Doctor Evil.
No, I was just using a bank as an instance. Like any institution could have theoretically already bought access to releases from XRP in the future. Or it could even not even be bought. It could just be a handshake deal or an agreement, where we will allow you to buy this for this price in the future.
That's the part where I was going to ask, is there any way to figure out like who's doing business with who? Like the contract. Is there any way to view the contracts?
No, there's so
Right.
much behind the scenes, like
Yeah.
NDA shit, especially with XRP and with Ripple, that we just don't know. There's like thousands upon thousands of NDAs and like unreleased information and like backdoor meetings with big banks and shit like that. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they said, "We will sell you a billion XRP at this price if these things happen." And that price, could be $2 or $1 even, or 50 cents even. It could be whatever, and then all of a sudden they release that they just bought a billion and the price, quadruples and they make, billions of dollars overnight.
It is genius. It is very much like fiat currency. It reminds me of that, where it's just like, well, let's just make them give us all their gold, and we'll just give them a worthless piece of paper. This is no different. We'll just give you a number on a screen, and we'll pretend that it's worth something.
Yeah, but like the whole fiat thing and all of that stuff is important for societies and economies to grow. right? Like if everyone just had to trade in gold, we wouldn't be.
We wouldn't be in massive debt, generational debt slavery.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Like
kids and grandkids. Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
the only thing you
yeah.
say is like there wouldn't be enough money to go around to fuel invention and the technology, yada yada yada. But that's all horseshit.
No, you need the debt to grow, right? Like debt is very important for economies to
No.
grow.
Japan proved that wrong. They proved that wrong. They were giving zero interest loans to the richest corporations.
Yeah,
And those
even
corporations fucking grew like astronomically. Their growth
yeah,
skyrocketed through zero interest.
yeah,
So
but
you
the
don't need that
entire
debt.
yeah, they were even giving negative interest rates. So they were paying people to borrow money for them, but their entire economy is on the brink of collapse, right? And not just their economy, the entire world economy could be severely affected if all of a sudden Japan just starts raising interest rates.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's like saying any government or any country economy collapses. Yeah, like any country that could collapse the economy. Say Russia, U.S., EU, you name them.
Yeah, no, but their problem is the carry trade. So all those people borrowed money at zero, negative, or very low interest rate. They borrowed billions upon billions, hundreds of billions of dollars, took it overseas with this understanding that they weren't going to have to, pay interest on it. And so they invested it in Europe and the US and China or wherever. And then once Japan raises those interest rates, those people won't be able to afford to keep their money in the other parts of the world that have it in Europe and America and China, et cetera. And they're going to have to bring that money back to Japan, and it's just going to cause an absolute, economic crisis.
Yeah, but how could they do that though? They've already locked in their deal. They're saying the bank just like what changes the interest rates after the contract's signed. Like I don't
Yeah,
see that happening.
the
They could change
state.
the policy moving forward, but I don't think they could renege legally.
Well, they can. I mean, that's the carry trade unwind that everyone's been worried about for like 30 years.
That'd be like sabotage.
I don't know. I'm not super smart on this stuff. I just can read the headlines and tell you basically what I understand, but I don't have like deep knowledge of it, so I can't say for sure. But from what I understand, I think that you need debt for businesses to grow. Say I want to start you know, a home building company. It's pretty important that I can go to the bank and get a loan to start a business, and that just works on a very small local scale, all the way up to like huge institutions, Apple, etc.
To an extent, because that's how the system's already designed. It's based for like, debt capture. But I mean, yeah, like how do you get out of it without fucking everything up? I don't know.
Yeah, but just think of it. Say you wanted to start a business. You wanted to go in business and start your own welding business. And you could make a bunch of money if you had the right equipment, could pay the right employees, could do the right advertising, etc. You could go to the bank and theoretically get like a small loan and start your company, and make a lot of money within a couple years, and more money than you could make as you are right now. I mean, I don't really know what your situation is, just hypothetically, right? You could make more money, you could pay that money back, you could grow, it'd be good for you, it'd be
Right.
good for the family, good for the economy. But if you had to rely on, you had to gather up enough gold before you started that company, it would just never happen.
Yeah, because of the system we're in, right? But what would happen if there was like you got rid of debt, what would happen is people wouldn't be able to charge as much for everything. Like you wouldn't be able to put like a vehicle. Nobody's gonna buy vehicles if they can't get a loan. You get what I'm saying? So if you want to sell vehicles, well, you gotta meet the market, the demand. And if the demand's not willing to pay 30, 60, 80, whatever thou for a vehicle, well, your profits are gonna tank. So now you gotta adjust the way you manufacture if it's not cost effective.
Yeah, so there would be a lot fewer vehicle options. There'd be a lot more competition to create better vehicles. Like the end product would be worse in the end.
Well, only because of the price. all the pricing just gets readjusted across the board. And if all the pricing gets readjusted, it's just okay. Now people don't have debt. Because all the debt is like, that's just inflated. That's just inflated worth. Like just because you're holding on to an IOU doesn't mean you actually own anything. You just own a promise.
I don't know. It might be too complex or too far over my head to understand, but just from a very basic level, I think, okay, if a car company wants to create a better car, they're going to go into debt to create that better car, right? And then since they went into debt to do it, they spent all of this money, they're going to have to charge more for the car. Since the car is so expensive, you're going to have to borrow money to buy it. Since you have to borrow money to buy it, you're going to have to make more money. And to make more money, you're probably going to have to start your own business. You're probably going to have to get some debt. Like, I'm not saying that debt is a good thing and people should carry debt. I'm just saying because we have debt is a big reason why, we have so many inventions and our societies are so
Here, I got a great idea. Abolish cars. No more cars.
I look at it as like unjustified like monopolies, and that's what allowed monopolies to happen was like rapid expansion by funneling resources into individuals to outpace everybody else, like change the playing field so others can't compete. That's kind of what debt, allows. Like if people were just working to generate money and slowly building and, had that consistent growth, right? The innovators, right, and the hard workers would actually be the ones up top. But instead, it's like just the businessmen that just do rapid expansion through artificial wealth and they just buy it all and then just outpace their competitors. So that's all it really does. It kind of like outpaces and funnels resources into single entities and creates monopolies.
Yeah, I think that is true. Like with capitalism comes corruption and a lot of really bad shit, and the powerful rich people take advantage of the, poor, not powerful people. Like that definitely happens, but nonetheless, capitalism still is the best, in my opinion. Like it still allows the random poor person, like say I wanted to, I don't know, get into like brush hogging or something like that. It would
I got a
take me
question.
it would take me a decade to save up, 40 grand to buy a tractor or whatever. But like, if I
Yeah,
can just go to the bank, borrow that money, get the tractor, and then start making, 5 grand a week brush hogging, and then I can pay that off.
yeah, because we're so late in the game, it's like the only way to do it is to go into debt.
Hey, for all the smart economist bros, was America the first country to enter in the fractional reserve methodology?
No.
No, that was the tulip. Remember the tulip crash? I forget where that
First,
No,
was.
I don't know much
first,
about this stuff. So
Oh,
first,
look up
first
the market for tulips or something like that. That was the first international crash where all the rich folk or royalty were like, "Oh, we want tulips," and then all of a sudden the demand for tulips went down. It crashed the fucking economy, or crashed the market.
First central bank was created in 1600 in the Netherlands, and that's what he's talking about, the tulip crisis.
gotcha. Thank you. Yeah, it
But
just seems
they
like
shut
an
it down.
unfair advantage, though. Just talking about real quick, like if you only need 10% of whatever you're trying to ask for, and then the rest of the world takes those notes, you just won.
And I was gonna explain pure rigor's monopoly right now too. It's called the Cantillon effect. So the Federal Reserve releases that new currency, that new money into the system. The very first corporation that gets its hands on it has an advantage over all the other corporations because it's getting to borrow that money at the cheapest rate. It's cheap. It's often
Yep.
borrowing that money for less than 1%. And so its stated job, in my opinion, its stated job is to go out and cannibalize all the other small companies. So it's furthering its monopoly by having a
Yeah,
disadvantage over all those other small corporations. So
it
yeah.
allows to manipulate wealth distribution.
Well, there is no such thing as corporations and banks being separated from each other. They were both invented at the same time in the same company. They work hand in fist with each other. And if you look at who owns the stocks of all the biggest corporations, and if you look into who owns the stocks of all the biggest banks, they all own each other. It's
Yep.
essentially one unit. They have all the doors, right? There's all these different names on all the different separate businesses, but they all own each other.
Yeah. Like even the brokers, like the brokers are owned by the banks. People are like, oh, the brokers are separate. It's like, well, are they though? Who's fucking fronting the brokers? Who's bailing the broker out? It's just the bank.
Do you think Levelist, that like fiat and usury is bad? Like Pure Rigor seems insane, or you don't?
No, I absolutely do. There's no reason to suggest that an interest-free version of capitalism could not be used that benefited everybody in the society of a civilization, as opposed to being part of the one of the 12 special families that have the monopoly on creating new money in the world and new credit.
But how are you going to go interest free? Like who would lend it to you? You're just saying your family would lend it to you, or what?
Well, the U.S. has a state run bank right now. North Dakota has had a state bank since its inception. It loans rates at like very, very, very low interest rates.
So the government, you think the government should be willing to loan us money at low or no interest rates, and that would more or less fix it?
I think that the only reason for a government to exist is to be the state bank and give everybody the same equal opportunity to that money, and not have one Jewish family be the recipient of all the benefits. Yes, that is the purpose of a government, in my opinion.
So I mean, just think about how stupid people are. Like, think some random. Sorry, I was almost racist. Think you just have like some idiot go to the state bank and they have to loan them $50,000 to start their business. You know, I guess two people asking to borrow money are not going to be equal. If an institution is incentivized only to give it to the person that they believe will like actually get a return, the guy who is like going to buy a brush hog and has a business plan for how he can make, and pay back the loan within 3 years is probably a better investment than the guy who wants to like flip, fake Nikes or something like that.
No, I think I'm thinking about it from the top down. Like if what I'm saying is true, that corporations and banks are in business together, then it behooves the bank to go out and purchase as many assets in the real world as possible, because the bank knows all it did was hit a button on a computer and it created money out of thin air. It's the only organization in the entire world that's allowed to do that. And it's allowed to do that because the U.S. military will go attack your country if you try to do that. So if they're in business together, then it is designed to both monopolize all the other businesses and to bankrupt so that the bank can buy it back up.
So it's always frustrating for people that haven't studied economics to make all these blanket statements, right? The banks do fractional reserve banking because they're in the best position to expand the money supply uh, without so that it tracks with the production of the economy more closely than some central bank that has to inflate the money supply to keep up with economic activity. By trying to monitor certain indicators, right? It's more organic the way that we do it with fractional reserve banking because
I'm working.
ultimately the goal is to expand the money supply to keep up with the fact that there's more and more stuff that money represents. And if you don't expand the money supply, then you have deflation, which
The issue
stifles
with
all growth.
fractional reserve lending and the Glass-Steagall Act is the fact that the banks don't actually have to hold your money when you put it in the bank. They only hold about 10% of it, and the other 90%, they use it to their advantage in the sense of they gamble with it. They invest it, and when they win, they keep the rewards, and when they lose, you, the taxpayer, bails them out. So it's a win-win for the banks and a losing scenario for the people. So no, fractional reserve lending is evil and shouldn't be taking place.
No, you can't just say that. What you're talking about is that the regulations that the banks operate on, were lifted so that the banks could make like very risky investments, and then the fact that the taxpayers were willing to bail out the banks, so there was no punishment for banks making those bad decisions,
That's
right?
not
The
even
golden
true. The
person.
taxpayers
That's
weren't willing. The government forced it.
Yeah,
How
it was
many
actually
years? There was
Clinton.
no vote on it.
I know.
People
It was
didn't
not
vote on
popular.
this. There was no process to it
No,
other than
Clinton
this is what's
snuck it
happening.
through when he was in office, dude. That's when all this popped back up again.
But you have
Prior
a
to that,
large Republican. You do have a large Republican base that's all for the lifting of regulations, right? They all see regulations as
Dude, they both sides. The Democrats were in office after the crash, and what did Obama do for regulations? Nothing. It's both sides. Blue, red, fucking green. I don't care what color you want to call it. They're all doing the same shit, working for the corporations and the banks. There's no way you can get out of that. Because the second you say no, they're not. Okay, well, why do both parties do the same thing and
Of
never put
course, well,
regulations on Wall
that's a
Street?
bigger problem with money in politics and the amount of influence that the elites have over politics and getting, regulations thrown out and things that are supposed to be there to
Right. So
protect
it's not a red
from
versus
stuff like
blue.
that. But
Glad
but
we can
but
agree.
but to just blanket say, well, fractional reserve banking is dumb. It's not. It's very smart because it's an efficient way to track the expansion of money to coincide with the increases in production. Right? As you build more stuff, you need more money to represent it. And fractional reserve banking is an effective way to do that. Right? To avoid the opposite of what you want, which is where there's more and more stuff is
no,
represented by a
that's not
smaller
the
amount
right
of money.
approach, dude. You're talking about liquidity crunches, dude, and we
We're not
don't need
talking about
fractional reserve.
liquidity crunch.
Well,
We're
that's what you
talking
just
about
described. That's what you just described, dude. Not having enough liquidity, dude, and how it fucking essentially enters more liquidity in. But that's not. That's just a fucking
a
misnomer, dude.
liquidity crunch is something different. A liquidity crunch is like if all my money is tied up in assets and I don't have enough money to pay my employees at the end of the week. That's a liquidity crunch.
Bro, we're
That's
the
different
whole
than
world. The whole world is in a liquidity crisis right now. That was what spawned crypto to begin with, all based upon your fractional reserve lending, dude. Like you've got to go back to economics 101, bro, because what you're saying just isn't accurate.
He's just justifying, like, trying to justify or rationalize the need for fractional. And it's like, well, we already witnessed the downside of that multiple times over. And it's like, why are you still arguing for this when your whole premise is like, this is what the people want? It's like, no, people never voted on that. It was forced. It was forced by government. So it's like there's no avenue or route to victory with this argument.
so then let me ask you this. What's a better way to track the expansion of money supply to coincide with the increases in production?
To track
With economic
to track
with economic
to track
output so
money?
that you have to have a money supply that roughly matches your economic output so that you don't have a deflationary situation, right? Because if you have a
Yeah.
deflationary situation, then you don't have anybody wanting to invest. You don't have any development because people will just hold their money rather than invest it in anything because the money's going to gain value because there's more and more stuff represented by a limited amount of money, right? So if you're not expanding your money supply, you get deflation, right? That's why you need things like fractional reserve banking to expand the money supply to
No, you
to
just provide
coincide with
something
economic
worth
growth.
purchasing. You all you need is something like if the people aren't spending their money, there's a reason for it. Because they don't have trust in the system. That's like the number one reason why people hoard money. They don't trust the system. So it's like,
I mean,
okay,
you're
well,
you're,
give
you're
them a
seeing
reason
you're
to
you're
trust the
seeing
system and they'll spend their money. We've already saw it.
you're
What was
seeing
it, like the 50s or whatever? Was it the 40s or the 50s or whatever when everybody was hoarding their wealth and there was a huge problem because of that?
You don't understand the fundamental problem. It's the same problem that we have with Bitcoin, right? 99% of Bitcoin transactions are not to pay for stuff. It's because people are speculating it as an investment because they believe rather than spending it, they're just going to hold it because they think that in the future it's going to become more valuable.
Dude, that's like with
Right? That's
anything
why.
on the
That's why.
market.
That's why it's not being used for transactions, right? So if you have money that's not being used for transactions, you've basically just threw a monkey wrench into the economic engine. No one, everyone
All
that
right, so
has some
stocks are
money is
bad.
just gonna. Everyone that just has some money is gonna hold it.
So stocks are bad? That's the argument you're trying to make? Investing in stocks is bad? It's bad for the economy that people invest in stocks? Really?
No, that's not even. That's
That's the
not
route
even
you're
the
gonna
same
go?
thing. What are you talking
People
about?
put their money into stocks and they don't spend it. They just let it sit there and grow over time. Therefore, it's detrimental to the economy.
Yeah,
It's
but
like, no,
that's
there's multiple
when you buy
avenues
a
of
stock
investment that can create growth.
yeah, but when you invest money into a stock, that company is producing economic output, right? Depending
Yeah,
on what the
exactly.
stock is.
Multiple
Well, if it's an
avenues
oil
to
company,
invest your
it's used to
money.
get. If you put it in an oil company, it's used to make more oil. If you put it into a
Yes,
car
but you can
company, it's
pull
used
it
to
out
make
when you
more
want.
cars.
Right, but it's
Okay,
not spent money. It's
but it's
just money in holdings.
but it's different. A stock is different than money itself. Money is supposed to be a representative of goods and services, right? That's not what a stock is. A stock is representative of a company and its potential output.
Right. So like Bitcoin, if you compare it to Bitcoin, well, Bitcoin has no real way to generate money. So yeah, it's a dead end.
Yeah, it's just
But if it's like,
that's
all
why
right,
I
well, we're looking
consider it
at
a.
just putting your money somewhere, putting it, not spending it, that would be like, all right, well, I'm just letting my money sit in this stock. I'm not spending it. I'm trying to see if it's going to grow. So yeah, those are the avenues you'll take. You'll take avenues like that to like fuel the economy.
But if you,
There's so many
no,
other
you don't seem to
options you can
understand.
make too.
If you have
But without
a limited
regulations,
amount
you
of
can't do any
money,
of it because it'll just be
if you have
exploited to
a
the fucking moon and
if
back.
you have a limited amount of money, like the way you have a limited amount of Bitcoin, right? If you have a limited amount of money and you don't have a way of expanding that money, then that means that as time goes on, there will be more and more stuff represented by the same amount of money, right? There'll be more houses,
Well,
more
you're just
cars,
saying there's no way
more
to
whatever.
expand the money. And I'm talking about there's multiple ways you could do, multiple systems you could create to expand that money. Multiple. One of them would be the stock market, right? But if you regulated it, you could allow for even more potential. But
Wait,
because
how
it's
would the
not
stock
regulated, it's
market
not
expand the
controlled, it's
money?
highly volatile, right? So it's more of a turnoff to a lot of people. And the only ones that really benefit are the big money players.
How would the stock market expand the money supply? What would be
Easy.
the
Through
mechanism?
investment in companies.
Investment in companies is wait. At what point is a new dollar created when you invest in those companies?
You're just scattergunning questions at this point, dude.
No, no,
Like
we're talking about
where
expanding the
you
money
go,
supply.
like
So walk me through. At which point does $1 become $2? When does the money supply get expanded when you invest in companies?
when the company expands, as the company grows, they're
So
gonna generate
companies will
more
be allowed
profit.
to make new dollars. Companies will be allowed to make new dollars.
No, they create more wealth for that company.
They create economic growth, but they're not making new dollars. If they don't have the power to make it
No, they're generating more
create,
sales by
that's
providing
not
more
creating
product
new
to the
dollars.
market
That's
or to
yeah,
the
those
customer.
sales.
Therefore, the customer spends more money. Therefore,
Yep.
more money in the system. The fuck,
Yeah,
dude?
but that's money. That's just collecting money that already exists within the system. That's like saying, oh, if we're all playing Monopoly and we all start with $1,000 each, and money is moving around the table, that somehow there's more money at the end of the game than we started with. That's not going to be the case. We're going to end if we play Monopoly for 1,000 years, we'll still have the exact same amount of money at the end of the game than we did at the beginning, right?
But that's irrelevant.
What do you mean
It's
it's
completely
irrelevant?
irrelevant. You're just saying prices can't be adjusted. What?
You understand that money is a
Do
representation
you
of
need
goods and
infinite?
services, right?
So if we're on a gold-backed standard, does that mean we need an infinite supply of gold for gold
Yes,
to
that's
work
why
as a
people got off.
currency?
That's
No,
why
you
in
just
modern
adjust pricing.
economies, where that's why in well, the pricing would then have to be deflationary. Things would have to become worth less and less, right? That's why
Well,
gold
yeah,
continues to go up
yeah.
in value
You just
because there's more and
adjust
more
the
stuff.
value of the dollar. Yeah, you would meet the market. You would meet the demand.
So then you have a deflationary money. Then you have deflationary money, which means I'm not going to give my money now to some new startup company that's going to solve the cure for cancer. I'm just going to hold it under my mattress because I know because of the deflationary aspect of our economy that money is going to be worth way more money in a year. And there's no risk, right? There's no risk of me putting my money under my mattress, and it's going to be worth more in a year. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to invest in the company that's
No,
going
you
to find
dumbass.
the
I
cure
already
for
addressed
cancer.
this. You put it in the market and you create better growth through the market, but you can't do that without regulations on the market.
Dude, you are just
So you
lost.
give the incentive to
I've
invest your money and make it available to others. Yeah,
investing
that
is
would be the
risky.
idea.
Investing is risky. If the money is
Well, yeah,
deflationary,
exactly.
it's
When
going to
you're
be
saying,
worth.
how
It's
do
going
I
to be.
make this
It's going
work
to
in
be.
the current? You're asking me, how can I make this work within the current fucked up system? And I'm telling you, you can't. You can't. The reason that you can't make anything work in the current fucked up system. Like, it's an imminent crash, dude. I don't know if you're aware of that, but it's just a mathematical certainty that the economy will crash again. Right? So you're like, how do I make this work so it's functional and it's like there's longevity to it? I'm like, well, you don't have a system that has longevity to it. You have a loop of crashing currently. You say, well, I like it better. You like what? You like the economy crashing every few decades? It's like I'm saying, put regulations on the market stricter, give more incentive for people to not hoard their money, put it onto the market for these companies to work with. Yeah, sure, there'll be some risk there if the company fails, right? But at the same time, it'll allow for growth for the larger companies. And then if you see, oh shit, this company is doing so, but they don't want to do this, right? Because if people start to see, well, DuPont, for example, releasing fucking Teflon, killing the environment, littering the fucking atmosphere with cancer-causing chemicals, right? Yeah, people will just say, fuck this company's growth. Let me take my money, cash out, and put it into a different company. That's exactly what they don't want. They don't want people to have any real influence on the market. They want the banks to have the influence, and they want the banks working with the corporations. And then the corporations and the banks buying off the fucking politicians. And that's the system. You're like, yeah, I like that system. Well, I just disagree. I don't like that system. Not even a little bit. Because the only people who are going to make out are the ones that are at the top. And that have been sitting at the top the whole time. And it's like, picture a community, right? So now you have like all these incentives for like potential, like people in a community see this one company and they like that guy. They grew up with him. They're like, holy shit, this is a great guy. Let me invest my money, my savings into like, let me purchase like some of his stocks. I want to invest
I
into
just
his
can't
company.
believe, dude, somebody's actually standing and advocating for fractional reserve lending, dude. Like that's fucking insane, bro.
I just explained why it makes sense. I mean, you haven't rebutted why it's a bad idea. How else would you expand the money supply to
Bro, I
correspond with
just told
economic
you,
growth?
dude. But you can fucking print money out of thin air. This is what they've been doing. The dollar's fucking crumbling, bro. Like this is all bad, dude. This is devaluing the U.S. currency. Over the last 100 years, the U.S. dollar is 10 cents. All right, it's equivalent to 10 cents as to what it once was. I mean,
Wait,
process that you're putting forward. It's insane.
the way our
It-
capitalist economic system works, though, you have to have some degree of inflation to encourage economic growth and productivity. That's the way that our system is built around, right? Because if there is no carrot, no one is going to put their money into investing into the future, right? That's why you need to have money. You need to have a time money, time aspect of money, right? Where you don't want to just keep that money in your mattress and know that it's going to gain value. That you're going to, if you put it in your mattress, it's going to lose value. So you better put it somewhere where it's more productive. That's the way that our whole system is based. Now, of
What are the
course,
rich doing? What are the rich doing right now? All they are doing is buying assets. That money never makes it back into the economy.
no,
It never
they're not buying
cycles through the
assets; they're
economy.
investing.
They just
They have
buy
their money in
assets and hold
stocks.
on to that. And they're like,
They have
instead
their
of my
money in.
dollar bills, I just have this asset instead.
They have their
That's
money
it.
in stocks and bonds. They're not.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
they
you
avoid
think you think
taxes, right?
you,
They avoid taxes with it. They avoid like everything. Like they essentially what their whole game is, hoard as much fucking assets as they can. Hoard as much wealth as they can. Don't actually spend money. Just eat things up that can potentially generate money. So what does it do? Creates a vacuum. And only the
when
people with
they
money can generate money at that point. The further you go with it.
yeah
Why? Because the
when
money fucking disappeared. Somehow, some way, it just disappeared. It went to a fucking black hole of some billionaire's wallet. And you're like, oh, well, that's a good thing. We should
oh,
allow
their
for that.
money no their money is in the economy, right? It's in stocks and bonds.
No,
It's
it's
in
in
companies.
assets.
It, it's in
Assets.
it's in it's in productive assets like factories. Not it's not like in a statue, or in a in a non-productive asset. Most of their money is in productive assets in companies, right?
That's
Which are
just not right.
productive
That's
assets.
just not even true.
That's the employees, intellectual property, factories, equipment, right? Computers, whatever, right?
Yeah,
Things
it's
that are
not
used to
true.
make
That's just
things that are used to make more money.
Same residential. They buy up all the residential, and then what do you do? Oh,
Well, what
fuck.
percentage?
Oh, fuck. Now all these billionaires own all the residential. Oh, how's that generating money, motherfucker? It's like
Because
another
people are
fucking
paying.
vacuum.
Because people, yeah, they build more
And
houses.
they
That's
just
economic
create more of a
output.
vacuum
They
of
build more
money.
stuff.
No, they're not building anything. They're just leasing shit. They're owning it. They own the assets.
You don't think
And
that
they
some of the
force
big
people
property
to go through them
investors?
to utilize those assets, whether it's a building, whether it's a fucking house, whether it's territory, whatever it is. These are the things they're working towards capturing. Like they're all doing the same thing. Like they tell you this, bro. They tell you this when they're interviewed. They say this is what, like the worst thing you could do is like give tax breaks to the rich because like they don't even fucking need it, right? Like they say all this shit to you, and you're still like, no, this is perfectly fine.
What, like, I have million new homes are built every year. Who's financing that?
The banks. Fuck.
Talk about being on the wrong side of history. This fucking retard.
What do you think? Like,
what
who
are
do you
you
go to
doing?
for a loan?
I mean, look, I may have a low IQ, but even with my
Very.
limited IQ and no formal education, I've managed to build like a pretty nice nest egg for my family's legacy, right? Just doing a few
Congratulations,
smart
bro.
decisions.
You're playing the
Congratulations. I'm
victim
so
card now.
proud of
You
you.
always do that. Don't
I'm
play
not playing a
victim
victim
card.
card.
Yes, you are.
I'm just saying that if you guys looked at this a little differently, maybe your lives would have turned out a little bit better. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean,
Who the fuck are you to judge my life, you dumb shit? You're just saying I win the argument because I bend the knee to the system. Therefore, the system's great. I'm saying no. I can operate within the system. I can navigate. Doesn't mean I agree with that. The system's like works for people and it's a good thing for people. Sure, I understand it. I can navigate through it. I can profit from it. I can exploit it. These are not fucking things that other people can't do because they disagree with the system in the first place. Like these are shit fucking arguments you're making, dude.
Maybe, but
And
you're
then
gonna be able.
they're gonna take advantage of you the whole way through. And if you
Yeah,
don't lock in a fixed interest rate, they're gonna hustle you even harder. I mean, fuck, dude. Even kids going to school, bro, they got to take out student loans. And look what they're doing with the student loans. They're readjusting the fucking interest on them at will. There's not even regulation on that from the government. It's like kid gets out of fucking college, got his first job, got his first apartment. He thinks he's killing it in life, and next thing you know, he can't even make rent. Like all his bills got thrown in the fucking dumpster because he's out of his budget because he's got to pay more towards his student loans now. You're like, oh, this shit's good. This is good. I like it. The
no, but
fuck are you guys on about?
the broader point, if you're poor working at McDonald's and you want to get a loan to start a brush hogging business that could make you make $100,000 a year or 150,000 a year, you could get a loan and hustle and start that business. But if you didn't have the ability to get a loan and go into debt, you would never be able to start that business.
Yes, like you're saying, well, how do I do this in the system? Of course, that's the way you do it in the current system. I'm promoting change it, change things, change the system so it's not mandatory to go into debt just to like accomplish something financially.
Yeah, Oscar.
I mean,
Why does that?
most people that go ahead, Levelist.
Well, I just wanted to ask Oscar real quick. Well, why does that loan have to have interest attached to it?
Is the interest is the incentive for someone to give you that loan? That's what I sort of had to duck out because I got a call, so I didn't. Maybe you explained that earlier, and if you did, I'm
No,
sorry.
I didn't.
Yeah, that would be the incentive. Like that's why a bank gives you a loan because they can make interest on it.
All right, let me attempt. This is a crude analogy, but let me attempt to try to explain this. I want to build a house, so I go to the bank and I want a $400,000 loan. Does that money already exist or not?
No, of course not.
No, it exists. If the bank has it to loan it out to you, it exists, but it was created out of thin air somewhere else down the line.
Well, no. Let's say I haven't
that's not
actually
true.
signed any documents yet. Does that 400,000 that I want doesn't actually exist? I'm still sitting in the seat, right?
It doesn't exist until you sign the documents.
Exactly.
The
Exactly.
money
So
simultaneously. Yeah.
so let's fast forward to I'm going to default on that debt. I'm not going to pay that money back. What how does that actually negatively affect the bank?
I don't know. I mean, I'm still stuck on the. You're saying the money doesn't exist. How does the bank loan it out to you?
They're creating an account
the
inside
money.
of their bank. There's
Yeah.
an account
Wait,
created.
sorry,
that
one
is-
sec, one sec. Sorry.
I'm trying to illustrate that the banks
No,
are doing all
sorry.
this risk free.
Could you say that again? Sorry, my dog was losing it. I couldn't hear
Okay.
you.
All right. Let me. This is crude understanding, but let. So I want to go. I'm going into the bank. I want to take out a loan. Right. I want a loan for $400,000. That money is not currently has not been created yet. Like that money has not been given to me, so it doesn't exist. Meaning the bank doesn't have ownership over this money, and I do get the loan. The loan is now mine. Now I owe them $400,000. Let's say I'm a malicious person and I say, fuck you, I'm never going to pay you a cent back. What does the bank actually lose?
They lose that
Nothing. It's
money.
the
Yeah.
taxpayers that lose. It's you and I that
Yep.
loses, not the bank, not the government.
Exactly.
You and I. Thanks to
So
fractional reserve lending. Good job, Jake.
the bank created it out of absolutely thin air. So if I pay them back something that they didn't have before I walked in the building, they don't lose a goddamn thing.
I don't think a bank can just create money out of thin air. Isn't that what the
Yeah,
Federal
It
Reserve
does.
does?
no.
The Federal
Yes.
Reserve does
So
that.
yes,
All
Skippy.
right,
No,
hold on.
So
it's your
that
signature.
yes.
Your
So
signature creates that loan.
So your bank actually has the ability to act as an agent of the Federal Reserve. Every bank in the United States does. So your bank is actually acting as the Federal Reserve when it makes your money.
So if I'm the president of a bank, I can just decide to do a one-time scam and say, okay, I'm going to give my uncle $1 trillion.
No,
No, that's fraud.
no,
Money I want to create.
no. They only
Not if you're a
are.
state business.
No. They're only able to act as an agent, and purchase bonds. So you have to actually make a bond with your signature and give it to them, and they purchase the bond from you as an agent of the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, so they're
Yeah,
not creating the money out of thin air is what I'm getting at.
They
It's
literally
it
are.
created
is.
You
out of
make
thin air
you
somewhere else.
well technically your bond is the money, and then they're just creating out of thin air credit to give to you in exchange for your bond. But they're doing it as an agent of the Federal Reserve or an extension of the Federal Reserve. So they are making it out of nowhere. You sign the bond, you give them the bond, they press a button, and a number flips up on the screen. That number didn't exist before. That number didn't come from anywhere. The number was just made up by them literally after you signed the paper and handed it over to them.
I'm just trying to illustrate to you that there is no set in stone law that banks automatically need to make money on every loan. Why can't we have nonprofit banks? What if that bank only made enough money to service the salaries of the employees of that bank? Like what value did the bank actually bring to us as a society? Let me give you a different example. Let's say I want to go build an entire 100 home track homes. Um, and think about like, is the bank going to do any of my work for me? Are they going to secure contractors? Are they going to get materials? Are they going to get building permits? I'm the one doing all the work and I'm the one taking all the risk. So why at the end of my endeavor of building all these houses, why should the bank make more money off of my endeavors than I'm going to make profit after selling these houses? What value did the bank actually bring? Why do they deserve to make money when I took all the fucking risk and did all the work?
Well, I kind of
Yeah.
agree that maybe they do make too much money, but I guess I'm not agreeing on this idea that they can just create whatever money they want out of thin air. I think the money is created somewhere else, and it's not just I go to my local branch and they invent $1 million if I want to,
They
steal
literally
$1
do.
million from them. So like they are risking that $1 million. Is my point.
No,
That's the point we're
they
trying to
can't. They
make.
can't.
There's no
No, they're
limit.
They
not.
can't.
There's no
No,
limit
they
on it.
can't. They can't lend someone else's money to you. They're not actually lending you someone else's money. They are literally creating the money as credits in their system the moment you give them the bond.
Does that make sense, Oscar? Like I can't go to the Federal Reserve after I go to Chase and I agree to take 400,000 from them. I can't go to Bank of America and do the same thing. That money doesn't exist in the Bank of America. The account that they created for me is only on credit at that bank. So they literally did create it out of thin air. That's my new account. It's not like they gave me 400,000 in cash. It's just an account. It's an accounting. It's double accounting, right? They get to create it as a credit on their account, but it's a debit on my side.
It's a
I'm not
debt on
smart
their
enough to
side.
know whether or not that's definitely true, or certainly to argue with you about it. But my hunch is that's not actually how it works. But I mean, I'll just take it to work.
That is how it actually works.
Banks don't actually hold that much money, guys. Like, if you were to go put $100,000 in the bank, they would literally maybe hold on to 10% of that. So
Yeah,
just
that's not the
saying.
question. That's not the question, though. The question is whether a bank can just create money out of thin air, and that's what I'm saying. I don't think I can go down to my local bank and then just
Yes,
like
that's how your
bamboozle.
currency works.
Okay, let me finish, please, dude. And then just bamboozle the local branch manager to say, "Give me a loan for $1 trillion because you have a magic wand where you can create $1 trillion." That's not how it works.
Well, you'd have to
Well, they have to
qualify
have
for it.
some justification on how much they're willing to loan. Like for a personal loan, it's up to 10,000. And a lot of it's depending on your debt to income ratio. So if you're just to ask for $1 trillion without actually having some sort of like feasible income to justify that, then yeah, like they just deny
Yeah,
it.
but if the
No,
bank can't
you have
actually
to have
just
a
make
bond. The
if
currency is based off of bonds. So you have to make a bond, and the bond has to actually be worth something.
The bonds market's heavily manipulated, but that's a whole nother story.
No, you getting your housing loan, your mortgage, that's a bond. They're purchasing the bond from you for credits. The credits that they get is literally made up out of thin air because they are acting as an agent of the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve has the right to create credits out of thin air, and all the banks actually like sign on to act as their agent if certain requirements are met.
I feel like you
I,
guys
I,
been listening to Issa for too long.
I'm
No,
just trying
I've
to
never
break
heard
this like
Issa say this.
mystique.
I've never heard Issa say this once.
say again,
I'm just
level.
trying to. I said I'm just attempting to break this mystique, this like word spell that everybody just automatically thinks banks deserve to make a bunch of money for actually not providing any services. They're not taking any risk at all.
They are
All
taking
of these,
risks. The
all of
bank
these
can go
things.
insolvent. If even with the fractional reserve banking, right? If the depositor, if the people that they loan the money to are insolvent, if that money gets lost, then they don't. Then you have what you talked about. You have a liquidity trap,
Yeah,
or
the small banks go
they don't have the
insolvent.
money. They don't have the money to go. Yeah, but what you're talking about, like what happened in 2008, right? Like everybody agrees that was wrong. That the government should not have bailed out the
Dude, we got
banks to encourage
major
that
banks going
behavior.
insolvent, bro.
Yeah, of
There's been
course,
like
because
10 major
the
banks that went
government
insolvent over the last like 2 years.
the
Well,
government was like, well, if
that's
we
the
let these
goal.
big banks fail, there's going to be, there's going to be like worse than the Great Depression or whatever, right? It was going to be a total economic collapse, and so they felt that by bailing out the banks, they would prevent that. Like, obviously, people were very upset about that, but these are more legislative issues, right? The fact, number one, the fact that the banks were allowed to make
Nah.
those risky, worthless assets, the securities
Dude,
that
the
they were making with
bail-ins,
all the
the
bad
bailouts,
loans.
the quantitative easing, all of that was a rip-off to the people, dude. That had nothing to do with propping up the country moving forward, dude. That was like that was like one of the biggest heists, dude, in American history, bro.
It's bad monetary policy, I agree, but
No, it's literally
that's not
just to protect the banks. That's all it
That's what.
did. It
That's what it's
protected the
designed.
banks from failing because
Well, that's
all
what it's
those
designed.
banks are insured. Okay.
That's how the system is constructed in the first place. They're monopolizing all the other smaller banks. Pretty soon, there's only going to be one big bank that everybody has to do business with, and they get to make all the rates at that point.
I mean, it
That
kind of
already
already
is the
is,
case.
though.
That already is, not
Because
pretty soon. That already is the case. It's called the Federal Reserve.
well, that and even the big names, they all sit together. You know what I mean? They all sit down. They might be a little bit of competing, like sport type shit going on, but they're all working together with each other. They're all sitting down in the same meetings, discussing the same strategies for the economy. They're all meeting with the politicians in a fucking, like during the they went through it, like the names that were involved in trying to figure out the during the housing bubble. Like, I don't know if you guys watched that, that documentary, like the multiple episodes and documentaries about that. Yeah, all the bigwigs was sitting down with the government. How the fuck are we going to fix this?
So you guys think that we
Well,
could just
yeah,
have some
because the
sort of
government.
utopic society where like everyone can just get free loans? Is that kind of what we're saying here? Because to me that seems not possible.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm trying to explain to you how money comes into existence. In America, since the Federal Reserve Act, money comes into existence when you make a loan. There's basically an equal amount of money for the principal on the loan that is created out of credits, out of thin air. So with the
Yeah, I'm
Federal
kind of
Reserve,
asking
the
pure
ability,
and levelist.
the federal, yeah. So, and as far as the banking collapse in 2008 or whatever, if they were to actually let those banks fail and not bail them out, as bad as it sounds, it would have actually been a lot more like economic turmoil if those banks actually did collapse.
Yep. There
Like
was
our
fractional
entire
reserve
financial
banking.
system would have been fucking destroyed. And
Just
no,
to be
we are
clear,
not
there.
on we are not on fractional reserve banking right now because there's no actual money being fractionally lent out. The bank is not lending out your account to other people. They're just creating new accounts and funding them with credits.
No, they're limited by statute by how much they can lend out based on the amount of deposits that they hold, right? And fractional reserve banking existed in America long before the creation of the Federal Reserve. In fact, in the early formation of the country, there was no rules on it. They could lend out as much as they wanted, uh, regardless of how many deposits they had, whether they were actually solvent, right? And but there was no bailouts either, right? So if the bank did a bunch of stupid stuff like that and they became insolvent, then the banks would go out of business, right? And everybody would lose
No,
their money.
there's laws that you can't loan out anyone's money. That's why they had to make a debt-based currency that you can basically go and make it out of nowhere. Because they're not lending you someone else's money. They're just making money out of thin air. It is based on how much deposits they have on the books, but they're not taking from someone else's deposit account and giving it to you. That's not what's happening. They're literally just pressing a button and a new money number on the screen is being like flicked up.
We got to get rid of money, guys. Like, I don't know where you think this is going to go. We spent all morning arguing about money. Some other guy spent his whole day driving money around in a Brinks truck. Another bitch sat at a desk all day and fucking handed money out. Like, people are just wasting their lives handling and dealing with money. It's ridiculous.
If
As
you
long
didn't
as
have
everybody
money,
understands
though,
that it's not
Thanks
real.
for that, Jeremy.
That's the important point. Jake on the plane. It's not real.
if we didn't have money, right, we had a society that looked more like
I know this guy
Gene
that spent all day
Roddenberry's.
cleaning a classroom for money.
If we created a society that looked more like Gene Roddenberry's, Star Trek Utopia, that was supposedly a moneyless society, right? I don't think you guys would like the loss of control that you would have, right? Because you would have outside forces that would dictate what you could accumulate, right? They would
We've
say,
already got
well,
outside forces that own everything. Don't you understand that?
You make it a
so
It's just a
resource
circle.
based.
You're just
You
going
make
in
it a
circles with
resource
them.
based economy, and you just give everyone their fair share. How many lobsters do we harvest a day? We get 8 billion lobsters a day. All right, everyone gets a lobster a day. How much gold do we mine every year?
Yeah,
All right,
that
you're
doesn't
getting
work.
2 grams worth of gold every year. So
That
on and
doesn't
so
work.
forth, and everyone gets their fair. I know you guys disagree. I know. Just hold on a second. If everyone gets their fair
It's not
share,
me that disagrees.
whoever's cutting in, can you just let me finish? Or I don't even remember what I was going to say anymore. Never mind.
Jeremy, stop
Yeah,
trolling.
communism doesn't work with over 150 people. Once you go over 150 people, whoever's in charge literally just robs blind everyone else and murders and starves them.
well,
It's
what
what
Jeremy
happened
is
in
talking about,
it's what happened in every communist ideal ever. And
yeah, but
since the
Jeremy's not
inception of
talking about.
communism till now, it's never not happened where
Yep.
over 150 people were in a commune and they just started robbing everyone else. It works if you live on a homestead, but if you're not living on a homestead and you're living in a civilizational basis, what you said, Jeremy, will not work. It has never worked.
So when you said you didn't, so when you said you weren't the one who disagrees and you were interrupting me every second, you did disagree and you were interrupting
No,
me.
it's not me
That
that
was you
disagrees.
disagreeing.
It's just
That was you
history
disagreeing.
that it's just a fact. It's just a fact. It's not me disagreeing. It's just the facts.
It sounds like you
It's
disagree,
never
so
worked
you agree with
once.
me then. You
It's
agree
never
this is
worked
this.
once. No,
So
no,
you
no. I
agree
don't
this
have
is
to
a good
exist.
idea.
I don't have to exist for this to just not have ever worked once ever.
So you don't disagree with me, then you must agree with me then, right? You agree
No,
with
it's
me?
just a fact of history. Every time someone has brought up that idea and tried to live by it, communism, it's just led to mass genocides.
Do you agree with me or not? Yes or no? Can you give me a yes or no straight answer? You want to play fucking games all day?
The fact is, time someone's
No,
gone
shut
into
up, dude.
communism,
Just
it's
shut up.
just been genocide.
Shut up,
It's
bro.
just been
James,
You're
genocide.
wet. Keep
All
this
right, I
is
think
disingenuous
Nobody's right,
bullshit.
dude. You're
can I bring it back?
just
Can I bring it
saying
back to the
communist
conversation?
ideals and you think that's a good idea. Oh, let me
All
just
right, nice
spout off
pissing
communist
contest.
ideas as if this hasn't
Nice
been
pissing
thoroughly
contest,
tested as
Noah. Thank you
shit.
for that.
No, all the
All right,
humidity's
so
getting to your head, dude. You gotta chill.
I want to bring it back to the key idea is to get money, right, back into the economy, right? That's how you're going to fuel the economy. So you want the money to constantly be like cycled, right, from one hand to another, and you want that process to just continue indefinitely, right? But the second you create like these little vacuums where like people own all the assets, that's just pulling money out of the economy. And that's where you're going to run into all these problems, where the monopoly is going to pop up, right? The hoarding of wealth, that wealth never actually being used, right? Because you guys are making all these arguments for like, oh, it helps the economy. It's like, well, it doesn't really. It just funnels the money to a certain person or people group. Like the idea, if you're trying to like boost the economy, is like get more money like flowing through the system and distributed within the system. And that will allow for way more growth.
Yeah, everybody keeps on talking about the U.S. economy. Well, you can break down the U.S. economy. 80% of the banks are all I'm sorry, 80% of the corporations are owned by multinational conglomerate corporations. How does giving all this power and money to these mega powerful corporations benefit the actual Americans of America? It's not our economy, it's their economy. They're the ones that are above all the governments. The corporations and the banks are the ones telling the politicians what to do. So, like, it isn't our economy, it's their economy.
Yeah, and that's the worst part too, because nothing's being done with that money other than being hoarded and like transferred from a dollar bill to an asset. And it's like, well, we're not getting any real world value out of all this fucking wealth that's being vacuumed up. It's like it's not making it into the economy for every Tom, Dick, and Harry to have money to go innovate, build, and produce an actual fucking product. Like at the end of the day, it's like the products are being like they're all being picked and chosen by like a select few people because they own everything. It's like, well, what you get is what they're gonna decide to give you. And then you end up in the whole bubble, keep running down that road where you'll own nothing and be happy. Because you'll
Well,
only
that would,
own what they provide you.
yeah, I would argue that that is the purpose behind all of these economic expansion and contraction cycles. You make money very available. Everybody takes out all these loans, and then all you have to do is contract that credit, make the money supply very difficult, so no one can gather money to pay back their loans. Now everybody defaults on their shit, and banks acquire your assets. It is designed to work that way on purpose.
Yeah, and then turn around and resell it. You default, they make all the money you spent paying for it. The value of that asset never actually changes in the eyes of the bank. They just reevaluate it and then they resell it. It's like, so everything they gain is just, even though you lost out completely, they profited like a son of a bitch without contributing a single thing. Like they didn't produce anything other than wealth for themselves.
Literally no risk. They get bailed out by the U.S. government.
Yeah,
by the
every
US
time they
taxpayer.
overstep.
Just
every
risk-free,
single
every
time
single
they overstep and they're like, oh, you did this shit that should have been regulated but never was. I don't even know why the fuck this was legal in the first place. All that shit that goes down, it's like, well, we fucked up so bad that we got caught in our own fucking trap. Shit. Oh, well, all right, here comes the U.S. government. We'll fix this for you. With our money. And then you're like, then you're saying the bank have risk. It's like, how the fuck do they have risks? Please explain when the bank ever fucking took the hit.
Yeah, you see the Trump dollar?
Which one? His little cryptos? His meme coin?
No, I think he's
Sig-
trying to fundamentally change the currency in the United States. And
He
he's
just
gonna
put his
take
signature on all of the new bills that are being printed. That's all.
the new $1
No,
bills is
sir.
going to have yeah. Trump signature's going on the new $1 bill. Yeah.
What a fucking ego this man has.
Because you
Yeah,
got
but
to
isn't
admit,
he
like, you would have fun too if you could.
he's
I draw a
taking
fucking picture of a
his
penis.
name
I
is
wouldn't put
taking
my
the
fingers
place of the Secretary of Treasury, is it not? So is he not dispensing of the Treasury secretaries? Like, what? I wonder what I need to see one of these bills because it might actually fundamentally change the nature of the note.
I would say that's defacing the dollar bill. And it's a criminal offense.
Wait, which president was it who said if you understood the banking system, there'd be a revolution tomorrow? I can't remember. I butchered
Thomas Jefferson,
I thought it
There's
was
a
Andrew
couple of them.
Jackson, wasn't it?
or it might have been Andrew Jackson.
He's the only president to leave office without having a U.S. debt.
Let's just start all over again.
Depends how much debt, right? Depends how much debt there is and how you benefited from that debt that you never paid back. Essentially, it'd be like, how much did you get for free at that point? Did you get a vehicle or did you get like a fucking 10-year business plan? You
No,
get what I mean?
there's an interest-free version of capitalism that could be implemented that benefits everybody in society, not just Jewish bankers.
Yeah, I agree.
The fact that people owe money and they need the money to pay back their debts is what gives our currency its like value, its perceived value. So without interest, without debt, our currency would actually just collapse. Like it literally a debt-based currency.
Well, look at it this way. Let's say I'm going to be the very first person taking out a loan from the Federal Reserve, and I want a loan for $100. And so they say, fine, here's your $100. You owe us $120. Well, if they don't give out any other loans, where do I come up with that extra $20 to pay off my debt?
From nature.
It doesn't exist. It was designed to take all of my assets. I was designed to go bankrupt. That's what it's
Or
promised.
Ayo, can I enter this
Well,
conversation?
Not without a
it's not to
guitar.
skim off the surface of the assets. It's actually just it's not designed to take all the assets because then people would have a revolution off the top of your
No, it's the
assets.
control.
And that's why right after the Federal Reserve, they created the IRS to make sure and ensure that they're getting paid back. Because it's not the individual person who's getting a loan from the Fed. It's actually the United States Treasury. The United States Treasury borrows, and the United States Treasury owes more money than it borrows back. Now, how does the United States Treasury get that money that it owes back? It actually gets it from the citizens. So the IRS and the Federal Reserve are one and the same because, yeah, go ahead.
That's what they're pledging. The U.S. Treasury is saying these current Americans and a series of future Americans pledge in taxes to pay back you, the Federal Reserve, this loan we're taking from you through these bonds. That's exactly what's going on. So they've got like 75 years worth of future Americans to pay back this debt.
Yeah, that's why they always say like the deficit is built on the backs of current Americans.
What do you got, Issa?
Yeah,
I
we
heard
would have
you
been
trying
able
get in.
to.
What do you got?
I don't know, just like the concept of like that. It's of my persuasion that like the idea that you're the creditor. The thing is that you gave over an instrument to be to then get a citizen, so that you could access your funds through the banking system, right within the system. But you're the creditor. So the idea is that there isn't enough money in the marketplace to pay the interest. And if we're in an ecclesiastical system, it's your job to forgive your adversary, which would be the United States. Forgive them that money that they owe you, because they plus the interest is owed to you in a capacity separate from your citizen, dude.
Ecclesiastic, that's some archaic
I'm sorry, are we talking law and
workmanship.
banking? Is banking and law not archaic?
What is like? I'm thinking like Roman stuff. Like, what does that even mean? That's cool.
It's
I
of the
like the sound of
church.
that.
It's of the church.
Okay, how does it apply to banking?
Because it goes back under like there's links that could go back to, let's say, the Vatican. So if we're under a Vatican system in some regards at its origin, then we're dealing with a system of forgiveness.
Are you
And so
talking about
like
like
this,
banking as a whole is like based on that structure?
yep.
Interesting.
No, equity.
It's based on,
As a
and
whole.
I'll just add
Equity
this.
as a whole
I'll
is
add
based
this real
off
quick.
of
I'll just add this. Let me just add
ecclesiastical
this real
law.
quick. Obligation creates money, and
No,
lack of
that's true. That's
and
true.
lack of obligation creates debt, right? So like, or not lack of obligation, but lack to fulfill. So like, you could
Exactly.
create money with an instrument, because an instrument is only as valuable as this face value of the instrument. So
Well,
like, and
I'll
I'll
give you
just
an example that so I had a bank where I had I sold a bunch of stuff on eBay, PayPal, then printed out a bunch of shipping receipts, and instead PayPal they were supposed to release the funds necessary for the shipping payments into my bank account. They didn't. I made over like 20 shipping receipts, and PayPal never released the thing. And then my bank account actually like counted each one of those as a negative charge, and they each one of them got to knock on the door 3 times. That caused a $30 fee. So I had 20 different fees adding times 3, and my bank just
Figure all
printed
that
the
one out.
money because they couldn't shut it down. They didn't want to, but now that like PayPal ended up getting sued in the end for having that kind of clerical error. But that kind of the like literally your bank can print money on somebody for a debt that they incur, and that kind of blew my mind, because like I went in there, I was like,
well, check
I had to
this
pay
one out.
600 in the negative just to get it to zero so I could close my account before more incurred.
There's just I don't. I could. We could go. I guess I don't want to get into that. I just want to get to a concept, but in the same way, uh, the idea is like if I gave you a document that said I'm gonna like bring you like some of my eggs on Tuesday, and if I don't and if I don't bring it to you, then I owe you $1 million. Let's say, right? Now I know
I'm
this is
rich.
like unfeasible or whatever. I've just used this example. Is like the idea that like if I don't bring that, and let's say I sign that document and I give it to you. Now Tuesday rolls around and I never bring the eggs. Okay, how much is that document worth?
Yeah.
More than $1 million.
Well, it's worth $1 million.
Probably more. I could probably
Well,
get
I mean,
more
you
out of
could.
you.
Well, how about this? You could actually charge for damages in some extent. But I'm just saying, like the idea that's how money is created through obligation, and so like, and we're so into trying to balance the books. And we've forgotten the fact that you were the initial source of the credit that went to the state in the first place. You're the creditor. The reason they don't give a shit about printing money and the reason hyperinflation never happened is because the creditors are all retards, and that's all us. And like we live in an ecclesiastical system where it's, in my opinion, you could discharge debt.
Well, I wouldn't disagree with you in saying like people don't know what they're worth. Like a lot of people go and they give in their life, their blood, and their time, and they aren't actually getting paid what they're
Well,
what that thing's worth. Because it's like it's almost like there is no actual monetary value you can give me for a single a single hour of my time because it's priceless. But I actually do put a value on it, you know. But everyone kind of like labels themselves based on their own life experience
Well,
where
here's what
they
it
should be
becomes is
placed
that
in
it
it.
becomes agreement between the parties. And so everything in law is bound to the agreement between the parties. So like, and it's really, it all is that kind of basic. It's an agreement between the parties. And so like you agree to this much, well, you know what I mean? And like,
Mhm.
but we live in this system. And I think like our problem is that initially we hate the system. When in reality, I think like we have to realize that actually the system's pretty good. Like, we actually, if we appreciated it, I think it could be like it does make sense. It's just that it's so adversarial to us in a lot of ways. I think for a lot of other reasons.
You know, maybe the system is also there because like a lot of people put themselves in one of those tiers because they think there is only a certain slot they could exist in, and I think that actually cripples a lot of people. Had I known earlier on in my youth that like what I could do is worth what I am now, that would have been a valuable thing for me to know, but I didn't know it because I believed also that the system was a structure that I couldn't control.
Well, I think, it's just, I agree with you. And those are broader topics. I mean, it's like, I could talk at length, but I just think like the nature of the fact that we have to appreciate like, our signature, let's say, means a lot. Like, you can't cash a check unless there's that signature on the back. Like, and I think like when we go and
For
apply for
now.
loans and when we go apply for credit, that credit is actually coming off of something that you gave to the system. So like it's like there's a movement of people that like want to disassociate themselves from the citizen, but it's like you don't even have to clarify you're anything separate from the citizen. Like the system already knows inherently that you're not the persona, the fiction, or whatever you want to call it. But you need that in order to be able to operate in the currency situation that we created, which isn't that bad, but it's been fucking completely exploited.
Oh no! All right, yeah. So I agree with that 100%. Like, there's no way that you can operate in our because you don't barter. Like, there's no way you could barter your way to like owning like property, like in any like grand sense. Like, there's literally like maybe, but like honestly, that'd be hard to
That's
do.
how gangsters and shit do it. What are you talking about?
But the other side of it is also this though too, is that this is where I
Well, do you
think
think that's easy? I said it was hard to do. Gangster lifestyle is not easy. That is a hard lifestyle
Speak for yourself.
because you're a gangster.
A lot easier than waking up 9 to 5
I don't wake up
every
at
day and
9. I
going
go
to
to
the
bed at
grind.
9. I work nights now.
Well, you get the
right, but
weekend.
that's to say you got to think in the totality. Like that's where we're at when this. That's why it intrigues me. It's like the idea that, but even then, like because any transfer of document that happen, like a paper that happens or money that happens, like there's an incurred tax, and that tax can never like that burden on our national debt. Like you cannot pay a debt with a debt. So like if I'm trying to pay my debt with a debt instrument, I generate more debt. So this is illogical.
That's why our bankruptcy is so high here in America, especially in
Well,
the last 10 years.
there's a lot of, I mean, there's a million and one reasons for that, I would think, but like just the idea that we have, I think, within the system, if like I beg anyone to go look up UCC 3603, like when tender of payment is made to the one entitled to enforce the instrument, and the tender of payment is either accepted or refused, there's discharge. So, like, what if we're going about this all fucking wrong, and
Well, that's
we've
how you
needed
do
to
the
be able to actually, like, let's say, use bonds to settle debt in a way that doesn't make your labor like you would still go to work because you want to be a part of fucking society, but you wouldn't necessarily like you can't pay a debt with a debt. It's weird. We've entered into a system where like the
Well,
rules.
how would I apply that and then buy something from the gas station? Like let's say I
Well,
go to
this is
work.
okay. I'll
Let's say I go to
explain
work at
my
a
process.
factory.
Which okay, you go get a credit card, right? And you would establish a relationship. I mean, this is the way I see it. I've yet to execute, but I tried this once halfway and got shot down because I've failed more times than I've succeeded. But I've succeeded in quite a bunch of shit. And I think like if you went. You would create a relationship with the CFO of the bank. You'd pay everything through a credit card and discharge it through your bank, dude. So no one would know anything at the fucking credits at the store. No one would know anything when you go buy your shit groceries. Your relationship solely in discharging debt would be with the CFO of the bank, bro.
Mm.
So you just
Yeah,
buy
but even
you
everything's
And that way the
attached to
public
your
doesn't have to
credit
be
card.
wiser. They're not going to understand this. And it's completely, it just removes all conversation with the layman at the fucking clerk's office, wherever
Well,
they
I
are.
think ultimately, like we're beyond that. Like right now, Google and any AI search engine, like they're all communicating with anything that has a captcha or prove I'm not a robot or any data collection. Like even Pokemon Go is apparently one of the largest like mapping structures out of the even bigger than like Google Maps. Apparently, like that's how all of those drones that are like at campuses and like doing DoorDash as an AI robot, they got that information from Pokemon Go. So like there's no information you're not giving up that ain't gonna like just they're just gonna bypass and do the thing. Like they know what we're doing.
No,
There's no
JJ, you're missing the point. The CFO of the bank is licensed to operate the thing. The CFO of the bank is the one. For instance, this is kind of a theory: is that you go in for an application for a credit card. What do you not do? You don't sign the back of the application, which means that the CFO in turn has to sign the back of the application and verify the access to the funds and your agreement to pay them to the bank through an SEC process or an SEC licensed process. You could essentially, what I'm saying is bypass that process because you would have signed the back of the instrument and said, hey, no, go directly to the funds. We're going to go around this SEC
okay.
nonsense
All right.
that's only there to balance the books of the Federal Reserve note.
I've had like probably 6 different credit cards in my past. I've only ever done them through my phone, and then I got like a thing in the mail, and I've never gone into a bank to sign a thing. Maybe that
I've done
process
it. I've done
well,
it. I can
I'm
tell you
just
where
saying,
I
like
went wrong
I
too.
just have like if that's part of the process, I think a lot of people doing it through their phone are going to be screwed.
Not necessarily because there are like DocuSigns and shit like that. Because and actually, if you really wanted to go full bore with it, because what you do is you would take your application, like as I did, you just put a name, social, and nothing else. Sign the bottom. You put your address, the address for the citizen. Sign the bottom. Turn it over. Sign the back. Hand it in. Or if you really wanted to, go get a notary to fucking affidavit. You get a copy of it and give them the original at the bank, and then you fucking walk away. And when they call you and they say, "Well, excuse me, sir, how are we supposed to, what's your job?" Blah 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 blah. There's 2 routes. You could be like, "Excuse me, are you not going to give me access to funds that I've already authorized to be given?" You know what I mean? And you could have that debate, and you could almost
Okay,
sue them over
you
the
do
fact
pay
that.
them though.
Hold
Like
on, what's
you
up?
do pay them though in the end.
You see, this is the thing: is we have to get away from the concept of what do you think pay means?
So, like, well, I'm just all right, so do you like you establish a credit card, but do you pay what you've used on the credit card, or do you like burn it and then get a new one? Is
No,
that what
you
you're
would
saying?
no. You're settling the debt with a bond agreement between the parties.
So, like if I go like, do you take
If
anything
I
from
gave,
your
how
bank
about this? Let
account?
me check it out. Check it out. Let me explain.
Uh
If I gave you
oh
a
boy.
bond worth listen, if I gave you a bond worth $1 million, right? Like, because already when I go into the bank, I'm already going to access what I believe to be funds that I put there in the first place into the kitty, if you will, right? Socialism. So you've granted over this value and that document, and I know this is like a point of contention with people, but that's that the birth certificate is an indented deed. It represents
Oh,
money or
okay, all right.
land.
No, I
Okay,
get it.
so
All right.
you've already
So,
given over something of
so you're
value.
all right. So you're saying
And
like
now,
if
and
you
hold
get
on.
like
And the evidence for that, before you poo-poo this and make it all conspiracy talk, fucking the evidence for this is that they give you a citizen's card, and on the back of that card is a number with a letter and 8 numbers. If you look on any piece of fucking money, there's going to be a letter and 8 numbers because you authorized the credit of that, the creation of that money by giving them that bond.
So
And
are
the
you saying
evidence,
that like
yeah.
if you get like a credit line of like $50,000 and you're able to like take that money out, you don't actually need to actually like replace the money you take out because you are
No, you
actually
better. No. You're going to replace the money through a bond. You're going to authorize the bank to cover the act to because who are you on the
but
hook
like
to? If
you
you're
don't like the bank will cover it, but you don't cover it.
no, it's not covered anything. It's just creation of value that you are giving license to by your application. Your application is the bond for the face value of the instrument. The thing is that you don't ever sign the fucking back of it. So somebody else is on the hook for paying it back, which ultimately is you, but you never realized that the money was ever owed to you in the first place. That's why they can.
How much
And
money
so
have you
I
actually
think
gotten
like
away with doing
they've
that with?
taken. I mean, I don't know. Like I haven't gone through full bore with this. You know what I mean? And this is why I went through a process like with me on the phone and I got that far. I just know through having like dealt with, let's say, like a lot of court shit and different like medical shit is kind of where I've had most success with discharge. And like, and they let it go. And I did a student loan one time. We did,
No,
but the point
I
is
get,
that
I've done
When
discharge
you
too. Like
say court, when you say court
I
and
got a
medical,
personal
you mean
bankruptcy.
weed, right?
My
what's up?
bad. Sorry. Go ahead.
What up?
I'm sorry. I interrupted the guy trying to. He had a relevant point. Mine was a tertiary. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think he was talking about success with medical and court stuff. Not really like loans, like me taking out a $10,000 loan. I don't know, sign something.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I actually I went through a bankruptcy recently, and the discharge thing is kind of interesting because unless it's like actually a certain number, they don't care. Honestly, if you're like under like $100,000, they're like likely to not try and even go after you for many credit card companies. Like they just they schedule it out to people, and people end up getting stuck in this interest cycle, and if your card's maxed or you're not even paying off or it's not like paid down, you're stuck in the cycle, and that's what they plan for. Like, and they do it so early on. Like, they make so much money off of everyone. That's not even really to what Issa was talking about, because like what he's talking about is like they're actually like turning your soul, essentially your existence, as on your life
No,
on earth is
no,
turned into
no.
credit. Technically,
I,
technically it
Well,
is.
there's some of the notions. Some people say like when you're young, just max out as much as you can, and then just bankrupt it, and wait for the 7 years. Just
If you have a way to get your value up, so like you're not just maxing out 50K, like let's get it up to 300K, max it out, and then go into a bankruptcy. Not legal advice. Don't do that.
that could be a
I'm
way
just
of
saying there's like
discharge.
this alternative history to banking, and I just think like it's really kind of right in our face. I just think like it's so almost academic. We've like walked right past it, and just that in the sense that you gave over an instrument of value to them first. Like you're the creditor, but
Well, actually,
you've
since I
you've
gave up
I,
credit
I
cards,
just want to say this. Hold on, real quick. You gave them something, and in turn, they gave you like a citizenship card. And I think the biggest problem, being materialistic rationalists that people are, they've they've identified exclusively as what the government gave them.
so should they work exclusively with cash, or should they? So, like, to avoid the banking conspiracy, should they
No,
just use
dude, it's
cash?
not. No, use it. It's for you. It's like sitting in a Lamborghini and and like being like, this is a piece of shit because you never started it up.
Right. It's
It's
like
like
Trump. It's like Trump avoiding his tax returns, or paying what he's responsible for because he found the loopholes. Use the loopholes. He'd say
yeah, I
you're
mean,
stupid to
it's
not
kind of
use it.
like that. Yeah, it's kind of like that in a sense.
No, I think it's exactly like that. I think honestly, like, he wasn't wrong when he said that, but I think a lot of people couldn't actually achieve many of those loopholes based on their, your whatever level they're at. But I don't agree with. I mean, I don't disagree with him on that. I think that's very smart, which is why, like, hey, you only have to work, a couple hours to qualify for a needing an office in your house. You can write off your entire phone bill for the year. All, like, the monetary value of paying for a phone bill, you can write that off in your tax returns. You can write off um, your gas, your food, and an office. If like you door dashed for, let's say, $600 per year. That's all it would take. If you made $600 door dashing, you could write off your entire phone bill, an office, gas, and food for an entire year. That should be a
You can do that with
loophole.
any
Everyone in
business,
a
though.
two-family. Well, yeah, exactly. You can make any business. Exactly. You can make a
But you have to
business.
pay
Like
for the business
I had a
licensing.
business
You
that
gotta
made
pay
$0.
everything to own the business in the first place. Just to get there, you're at a loss. But you're just
Exactly.
saying
So
you can write things off. Yeah, all right.
it,
Well, it depends on the type of business. I
well,
don't
it
know
does.
if you
It
can
won't.
actually claim LLC off a fucking DoorDash driver.
No, no. Off of DoorDash, you're 1099. But I have done. I had my own business before while I was actually DoorDashing. I'd done all the tax bullshit for both of them, but they're essentially the same. When you have a 1099, once you make $600 doing DoorDash or Uber Eats or those, you'll get a 1099. And on your tax return, you can then actually claim you have an office, which you need to actually fill out your taxes. You can have like a little corner of your house you could technically claim as your
Oh, it's
office.
just write-offs.
Right, exactly. So your phone, your food, is like $50 a day, and gas per mileage, or based on your
I don't think you write
gas
off your
usage.
lunch.
And
I
unless
Yes,
think
it's
you,
1099,
unless it's a
you
business
can.
expense.
might as well just
Your food,
1099 yourself. I'm paying myself as well.
exactly. Well, I
No,
mean,
a
there's
lot
a
of
bunch of
people have
different
been
things
to
you can do, but
jail doing
also
99 OID processes. FYI, that's a bad look.
right. So, but also if you have an LLC, like you can make an
That you can
LLC
write
for any
shit off.
business that never makes a single dollar, like we were saying. Like you could like make a website for it that's tax tax deductible and all these things. Like it just making an LLC alone gives you a whole other thing. You can deduct a bunch of things from your actual life from. And these are, there's loopholes for fucking everything. And if everyone did it, they might actually make a law about it, but they don't because most people don't, and they're worried about getting
You ever heard
audited.
the idea of
Well, because
you ever created?
if you fuck up just a little bit on your write-offs, they crush you, bro. And then they
Well,
don't even report. They don't even tell you fucked up this year. They'll hit you like 10 years down the road with tons of interest attached to it.
maybe, but
They'll
like
let you keep
TurboTax
taking
actually has
interest.
like a little meter you can watch it. Like as you're hitting deductions, it'll show you whether or not you're likely to get audited or not, and you can keep it right under the needle. And I've been doing taxes through TurboTax for over 20 years.
Yeah, I don't even think that's accurate. I think
Well,
auditing
it is. I
is
mean,
based on it's going to be based on like red flags.
exactly. And they tell you whether or not you're going to be flagged or not, or likely to be flagged, is what I was just explaining.
Yeah, but if they catch up to all the current, right? Like if they expanded the IRS like next year, say they like, add a quarter
Mm.
to the workforce, that everybody's fucked. That means
Yeah,
the
but do you think they're
criteria to
actually going to
avoid
okay?
just went through
Do
the
you
roof.
think they're going to hit me first or the president first? Which one?
They're never going to hit the president.
Okay, so
They're
if they're
going to go for you.
expanding,
They're
they
never going
should
to
hit
go
the
after the
president
big
first because he's
corporations
actually
because
been
they can't afford
on
those
record.
battles with
It's
them
it's
lawyers.
it's
They're never going to go after any big corporation. They're
well, then I'm not
rarely
worried
ever
about
going to
it
go after
because
anybody involved in the
I'm not
state
worried
or
about it because if they're
government.
going to get me, they're going to get my neighbor, they're going to get everyone else with a gun who's pissed
No,
off.
what
So
they're
I'm
gonna
not worried
do is
about that.
focus on small business owners. That's what they're gonna do, and
Well,
it's
then they're
usually
not
typically gonna
American.
be local.
Is that
It's
going to be
usually gonna
MAGA
be.
that's doing that? Is that a Republican thing that's going to be doing
Are
that in
you
the next
like?
couple of years?
What are you diverting for? Like, what are you talking about?
Are you saying Trump's going
I'm
to be doing
saying
this in the
if
next year
you're
or two,
gonna
or
get
what?
taxed, if you're fucking up on taxes,
Mhm.
typically they're gonna come at you at the state level,
Are you saying Trump's
right,
coming
or
for
the
me in the next
city.
year or two, or what? What are
You're
you
gonna
saying
get
right now?
audited locally. That's how it's
Trump's
gonna
coming
work.
for me. MAGA's come. Republicans are coming
So you
for me.
want
Is that
to
what you're
interrupt
saying?
me to straw man me? Like really?
Did you? I
That's a
heard you.
straw man. That's a straw man.
Like
Better
what the
start
fuck?
soon.
When did I ever say Trump or Republican or anything? When did
Dude,
I ever?
can you cry a little harder? Seriously.
What the fuck are you on about, dude? It's not crying, it's confusion.
Better start suing TurboTax if they go after you, Demon Strike.
Well, that's when I bite fingers.
Yeah, I wouldn't even worried about like the IRS, honestly. I'd be worried about your local auditor. Because if you're dodging taxes, they're fucking coming after you.
Mhm.
You're gonna have to
Well,
worry about the IRS with like federal, but
dodging
not your
taxes
state
would be
taxes.
separate from no. So nothing I talked about right now is about dodging any taxes. What are you talking about?
Write-offs.
No, write-offs are legal things you can do in your tax
Yes,
returns.
to minimize your tax income bracket. Yes, and your expenses and your like
Where's the illegal
overall.
part?
Nobody said it's illegal. I said you're dodging taxes.
So if I'm dodging
Write-offs
taxes,
are not
that's illegal.
dodging. Write-offs are not dodging.
Exactly. What are you talking about?
I think they are. I think write-offs are dodging
Are you
taxes.
serious?
Yeah, well,
Are you fucking
you're
serious?
not the law. You're not the law. It doesn't matter what you think.
Well, I'm not saying it's. I'm not making the argument like,
Bro,
I'm talking.
if me and Noah disagree with you, you're fucking
illegally,
absolutely
like,
wrong.
I meant like trying to minimize your tax income, right? You're trying to dodge how much you're going to get taxed or avoid like being in.
So Trump should have actually owed a lot more, is what you're saying?
Like if I turn around and like I tank my profits
Why do you keep bringing up
intentionally,
Trump?
I would look at that as like, yeah, I'm dodging.
I don't need to go. I want to go to Trump because
I think
he's
you
the
have that
opposition. I'm just trying to make it. I'm just trying to make a
man
fucking point.
derangement
We don't
syndrome
got
or
to do that.
something.
If
All right.
you
Here's
wanna make
the
a
point.
point
Orange
to
man
hate on
derangement,
Trump,
bro.
okay, hate
All
on
right.
him. You don't need my permission.
Oh my god. All
You
right.
just want to
So
hate on him. I don't give a shit. I'm not a fan of the guy.
I'll wait for humans and adults to enter the room.
So go
You're
ahead.
such
Go
a
about
loser,
your bit. You
bro.
want
Oh
to
my
talk about
goodness.
Trump? Go.
Wait, that's the first response? Is I'm such a loser? Come on. Fucking
Yeah, you are. You're like, I'm waiting for humans and adults
Oh
to
my
speak.
god.
Like, what kind of a waste of time?
Well,
Like,
you're
dude,
not
come
an
on.
adult, obviously, so you must be not a human either.
Say some
Don't drag
shit
don't
that's
drag
not
it
a
into
waste
this
of
petty
time,
shit.
dude. What's wrong with you?
Don't drag it
Demon
into this
Stride's
petty
good people, man. He's a little normie, but he's all right, dude. What the fuck?
Little. This motherfucker's normally
I
to the
like Demon
extreme.
Stride.
He says my bro. So is